And we are live. Welcome to Wolf King's Vids. And today we have my boy Chris and also my brother from another mother, Drag not Sylvius. Alright, now we're going to be going over the Kent Hovind interview done by my boy Keefees the Elite Hunter. Go check out his channel. He's an awesome freaking rapper. He got lucky enough to basically talk to this disgusting scumbag. And, you know, while he had the chance to talk to him, he made a shit ton of factual errors, and we're going to go over them and deconstruct them. So, first I'd like to say to Chris and Drag, how y'all doing today?
I'm fine. Doing trying to finish up this lab homework. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to participate as much as I want to, but science does come first over fundies.
Yeah.
That's cool. Chris, you?
I'm super duper ready to flame base this motherfucker.
And Joe V, how you doing?
What up, Wolf? What up, guys? I'm doing alright, man. Just debating if I want to go out and drive rush hour Uber or not.
Alright, so I'm basically going to do this radio style, and I'm just going to play the clip, and, you know, if... Basically, I'm gonna stop whenever this guy says some bullshit. So I'm gonna stop for a split second, and all right, and let's just get it up. All right, still live, good. Okay, now I'm gonna play it now.
Well, hello everybody, welcome. What's up? Welcome to Weird, Wicked, and Wonderful, where we interview the most opinionated, unique, and eccentric people of the internet. Some of them have built up their following with their own ideals, and the purpose of this book is to find out what exactly is they believe, why they believe it, and their perspective on life in general. Now, unlike my social commentary videos, these interviews are usually a little bit longer, don't have a bunch of flashy graphics, so feel free to minimize this video in the background while you go do other things. There will be an off-air Weird, Wicked, and Wonderful Google Hangout after party, after the interview. Private messages about getting a VIP pass if you're not already one.
Yeah, by the way, that's my boy Keefees the Elite Hunter. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. He's fucking cool. Put a link in the side chat later.
And yeah. So with that being said, we have a really special guest on the show tonight. Before I introduce that, I want to let you guys know that if you do have any questions for our guest, I will be searching the comments of the live stream for some. I won't ask
evangelism. And
okay, so let's
just introduce yourself a little bit, like a little brief bio.
All right, my name's Kent Hovind, Hovind. My website or email, not email, YouTube, Kent Hovind Official. You can see a lot about me, but I was a high school science and math teacher for 15 years. Moved to Pensacola, Florida, January 1989.
Fun fact, that the school that he was a science teacher in for high school, that was a private school, and you don't really need all that good qualifications for that.
Actually, you know what? It's even worse about that. They weren't even schools; they were schools that he started, and made himself math and science, whatever. So even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about these guys. They get their credentials from these places that they make up, or places that are just friggin'
diploma mill.
Private, but what they teach there is friggin' ridiculous.
No, it's not even that, dude. I mean, it's to the point that, I mean, like, these places are diploma mills. This guy got his diploma from essentially a trailer, like that. That's what Patriot Bible University is. But I'm alright. Let's just keep going. Like we gotta update us so I can do that shit.
And began a ministry shortly thereafter called Creation Science Evangelism, and we use the scientific evidence from all fields of science to defend the Bible as being scientifically accurate. I believe the Bible is literally true, is scientifically accurate. The entire universe was created in 6 literal days from nothing, just like God said. And it was about 6,000 years ago. The universe is not billions of years old. And one of the website, drdino.com, one of our emphases is on dinosaurs, because kids are being taught in school that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, and that is simply not true.
Dinosaurs lived with man all through history. They were called dragons. People have killed most of them. There could
Yeah. So let me go back to the statement he made that the Bible is 100% true, and it was some I can't remember the statement either before or after it, but this is a point that I've kind of brought up to others who believe in a literal Bible. If the Bible was literally true, we would be silicone-based organisms, not carbon-based. If no one's heard me say this, it's not even an argument; it's a point of fucking fact. If you break down our epithelial tissue, the carbohydrates, what we need as human beings, what makes up our bodies, is made up of chemicals, and it's made up of elements. And these elements combine to compounds. And so, if you look at the structure of these compounds, you will see C's, like, and not CC, but as in Charlie, C, the letter C. That stands for carbon. And this carbon element can attach to many different other elements. But silicon has a very similar property. If the Bible was literally true, and since the Adam person who was created from the dust of the earth, which does translate literally to earth debris, we would be made of silica, which is silicon dioxide. 90% of the Earth's crust is made of silica. So that would be the case if indeed we would see SIs instead of Cs,
Yeah.
for our makeup.
Yeah, and also the KT boundary. I mean, there are no human fossils found below there. All right, that the layers show different ages. You know that exist longer, like after. Right? The age in which dinosaurs lived and humans, like, you know, barely started evolving. I mean those are around various times. Those aren't they aren't at the same time. I mean, that's bullshit. That's not the case at all. So I don't know how he's deriving these calculations. In fact, I now that I think about it, does Kent ever go into the exact ways at which he comes to his conclusions, or does he just pull them out of his ass, really?
I've yet to see him substantiate these claims. He can call himself Dr. Dino all day long, but he doesn't possess the credentials in any field of science that'd be relevant to the things that he says.
Yeah, even though he pulls shit out of his ass most of the time, like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, okay. Let's just keep it moving. Fuck it then. Let's see.
could be a few stragglers still alive in various remote parts of the world. I don't know. But that study has always interested me. It's called cryptozoology. Could there be some still alive, like Loch Ness Monster kind of stuff? So, as a short summary, I believe God made the world in 6 days. It was destroyed by a big flood in the days of Noah, about 4,400 years ago. And that flood explains all the fossils and canyons and erosion marks and all of Earth science that we study today, which is one thing I taught 15 years. All of the Earth science can be explained.
You, sir, are a bitch.
Kent Hovind, I could listen to him all day.
What happened?
Can someone say cognitive dissonance, please?
Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. Let's define this for the viewing audience. Well, if I can't find it fast enough, drag you.
I'm walking around. Hold on.
I mean, it's usually when you hold like contradictory beliefs about things. I mean, the fact that he thinks that evolution is, I mean, the fact that he thinks that his belief is right because he's convinced in that apparently evolution is a dumb religion. I mean, it's kind of asinine. I mean, it's ass backwards. I mean, the fact that he has no real basis for evidence for his view, and he looks at evolutionary theory as if it's a dumb religion. I mean, that's just a false equivalency. I mean, there's actually a basis for prediction with regard to natural selection and genetic mutation. There's nothing with regard to like saying things are designed, or at least asserting this on the fly.
Also, another thing with the claim that that God flooded the world. No, the world was entirely flooded, and this friggin' ship was able to coast around it, like, and each animal, like, it makes no sense because I don't think I can explain it. Someone else do it because it just baffles my mind.
Well, for one, I mean, like, where does all the water come from? Where does it go afterwards? And how come? And if there really was a flood that affected the entire planet, how come we have recorded, traces of ancient civilizations living by that time? I mean, it's not to be taken literally. That's the point. I mean, the fact that you even tried to use science to justify something that can't be justified with empirical evidence, it's Dunning-Kruger. I mean, what the fuck? But let's keep going. Let's not waste bits like this.
Within the kind,
Okay.
it should just be called variations. It should not be called evolution at all. We've never seen any animal or plant produce anything other than its basic kind. Now, if people want to believe that we're all related to a rock 4.6 billion years old, that's fine, or we all have a common ancestor 3 million years ago. They can believe whatever they like. But
okay. Where does he get this rock thing from? Seriously, I still don't get this.
Yeah, this is something that I hear creationists and also other people say, like, oh, you believe you came from rock. Like what the fuck? It makes no fucking sense.
I mean, just where in scientific data does it say that life began from? Like what? Like the Earth or something? Like what the? I don't get it. Whatever.
that's a religion, it's not a science. And that's my humble, unbiased, and correct opinion on the topic.
That's good right there.
Yeah, fucking right. Unbiased my ass.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, that was totally objective. That wasn't a freaking rant at all. All right, okay.
Now, when you said you ran out of opponents on the internet, and even when it comes to like people that you've debated against, let me just tell you, you can find a whole lot of opponents with people I deal with. There's way more where that came from.
Okay, well, let me explain. I do not want to get involved in an internet debate. I type slow, and at running time.
He was working to have a discussion with the drunken peasant. Well, not to have something of a debate with evolutionary scientists on the drunken peasants, but because his people were such condescending dicks to them, it ultimately broke down, and that's what never happened. But yeah, this guy is he is an attention whore, especially now that he's out of jail. Now he stopped. Now that hold on, Chris. Now that he stopped now that he's off rim job duty from Bubba, he can do this stuff now. Now go on. What's your question?
Did he win that debate? Because I hear Brett Keane saying that he won the debate.
Who won the like what? I mean, there was no debate. I mean, it broke down. Apparently his agent or whatever freaking insulted the drunken peasants, and they were all like, "Dude, fuck you. We don't need to take this stuff." And that's how it got deconstructed. So.
Oh, okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it goes sometimes, But let's play the clip again. Hold on a second. Okay, found it. It froze on me. Okay.
Master copy of the tape, and I keep a master copy of the tape. There can be no edits other than graphics, maybe editing powerful slides in after production is permissible. There can be no deletions, and then either party can sell it if they'd like, royalty free to the other party. So I'll pay the expenses to videotape it and give them a master copy when we're done. Like I said, I've got 105 of these debates, but as far as an internet debate, I simply don't have time or interest or ability to type fast enough to do that. Plus, so few people are listening. It'd be a pure waste of time. A live debate in front of a university audience or church auditorium or something would be wonderful. Anytime.
So not even in a video format. I don't like typing either. But just how we're talking right now is what I was talking about.
Well, I don't know how the technology works. I mean, if it's going to reach 5 people, no, I'm not interested. If it's going to reach 10,000
people. It can reach a lot of people, I believe.
Sure. I get one where Theodore kind of handles the technical side for me. I was the dumbest law in the history of the world and just got out 2 months ago. And so...
okay, let's just focus on that. Sorry about the background noise. Anyway, so... I was going to do a relative. Anyway, so we were, he's talking about structuring. Now, he's referred to that as the dumbest law in history. Now, just to give you a bit of background of what structuring is, let me just bust out the dictionary.
It involves tax evasion.
Yeah, tax evasion. Yeah, also known as smurfing in banking industry jargon. It is the practice of executing financial transactions such as the making of bank deposits in a specific pattern calculated to avoid the creation of certain records and reports required by law, such as the U.S. Bank Secrecy Act or BSA. Now, here's what this fool actually got arrested for. It was due to 45 counts of structuring, and he didn't offer a defense at the trial of these charges. His organization wasn't tax exempt, and his revenue appeared to constitute income to the petitioner personally. The employees testified that they did not consider it a church, and the prosecution explained that even if it was a church, they had to pay payroll taxes. He did not. He, in fact, made multiple withdrawals of around $9,500 to avoid the scrutiny, with withdrawing at least 10 grand from the bank, which accounted for the charges. And as a result, he was sentenced to a 10-year jail term. So he did not, basically, ergo, he did not render Caesar unto Caesar, and that's why he got jailed like a punk biatch, because he was. Any thoughts on that?
He's a dumbass and a hypocrite. Because his Bible says, "Oh, obey your earthly master, you slaves." Like, it makes no sense with these guys. Like, they just cherry pick what laws that they want to follow. They cherry pick what verses they want to put to heart and practice. Like, it makes no sense. It's stupid.
Yeah, any other thoughts?
No, I mean, he knew he was wrong. He couldn't offer defense, from what I understand. And I read this a while back, so I may be wrong, but I think he was right underneath the threshold that he needed to report. So on paper, it was quite obvious that he was splitting up the money so that it would be right under the threshold. So even if he did offer defense, the circumstantial evidence would have got him anyway.
And speaking of somebody that works in finance, I mean, you're dumb. You have to be completely moronic to believe that even though you're doing it under the 10,000, that financial institutions don't track all that stuff anyways and can't go back and look at your records and see that you've been doing this on a consistent basis and be like, oh, I'm going to skirt around this law because I'm going to take out just under that, and that doesn't mean they have to report it. They, they can go back and find the records if they really want to. They keep track of all that. Every financial company does. Years and years of data worth of that stuff. But didn't he? I remember reading. I think it might have been during Hogtie's hangout with Arcane. Wasn't there something else like even he admitted or even tried to do more of this when he was in jail for this and he was awaiting trial or whatever, that somebody
Yeah,
from his organization came up and did that?
yeah. That actually was the case, and as a result, he got more time put on him for that.
Like, how do you not realize that the phones have been fucking wiretapped? It's ridiculous. You have to at least exercise some level of critical thinking. Like, you're in a friggin' prison. Of course, the phones are going to be wiretapped to a certain degree.
I mean, look, I mean, we're dealing with a real jackass. We've all come to consensus he's a piece of shit commie, but that's neither here nor there. Let's just keep on with the interview. All right.
I have a lot of technology to catch up on. Yeah, if it's something that can be done live over the internet where people are watching worldwide and there's some anticipation and they know about it, I mean, sure, I might consider something like that. Good.
Yeah, I'd recommend you really look into Hangouts. That might be something that your channel yourself can actually use if you want to start running your own debates, or if your technical guys are up for that. It probably help you out. You can also help other people out by putting on their channel if you want to debate and all that. Not all typing, so we're way past that. All right, so. Not everybody starts off being a creationist, evangelist person. So my next question would probably be like, what made you start doing what you do?
Well, I had been a student of the topic. I was 16 years old when I gave my heart to the Lord Jesus Christ, got born again, became a Christian, got saved, whatever phrase you want to use. Started going to a little Baptist church and started reading my Bible avidly, and very quickly realized that the book I was reading did not match what I was being taught in school. Somebody is wrong about numerous things. The age of the earth, for example. Was there death before Adam and Eve sinned? Obviously, according to evolution, there was billions of years of death before man even got here. And so I quickly realized there's a conflict between the Bible and what I'm being taught as science in science class. Just because it's in a science book does not mean it is real science. And then when I moved to Pensacola in 1989 to put my wife through college, I'd only been in town 3 weeks, and an article came out in the newspaper about some dinosaur bones that were found. And they said these dinosaur bones are 70 or 80 million years old. And I wrote my first ever letter to the editor of the Pensacola News Journal. And I said, no, these dinosaur bones are from Noah's flood. Bones don't fossilize unless they're very quickly, period. And so these dinosaurs...
Oh, okay, stop. Oh, jeez. Okay, first off, let's see. It's not the fact that... okay, well, let's deal with it in the reverse order first. Okay, okay, the Adam and Eve thing. Okay, well, what evolution basically explained, it's focusing on the biodiversity of life, right, and how it increases in terms of its complexity. That doesn't necessarily disprove, a deity or whatever. It just makes it irrelevant with regard to understanding the biodiversity. I mean, some Christians say that was just a process that that the deity used or whatever, but that's their view. And it's not that fossils don't in order for an organism to be a fossil, to become a fossil, it doesn't have to get buried quickly. It's a gradual process to even get there in the first place. And there shows a transition, descent with modification. But what do you guys think?
Sorry, I was talking to my son.
Right off the bat, to me, like, I can tell even if I have little knowledge in science. Shit. Saying,
I'm sorry.
I just don't know. It's just, it, even though I've heard the shit over and over again, it's the same rhetoric, the same bullshit. Oh, God magically made man from dust, and then usurped some thousands of years of knowledge. That claim is ironclad. It cannot be questioned at all. Like, it's stupid.
I mean, it's just the claim that the world is that young, despite the overwhelming scientific evidence that it is. I mean, the reason why we put it at 4.5 billion years old is because we understand, you know, the uniform rates of decay with regard to like half-lives and stuff, and you know, and rocks as well, and freaking the coral reefs, and how long it takes for that stuff to go on to get about. But okay, let's hear more of this before we get ahead of ourselves. Okay, like,
and you would have thought I had just shot the sacred cow, because I got called everything but a white boy in the paper for the next 6 months. And finally, some of the students at the University of West Florida called me and said, Kent, we'd like you to come debate one of our professors. He teaches anthropology, Dr. Terry Pruitt, and he's been reading your the editor of class and been discussing them and debating them in class, and would you be willing to have a debate? I said, I've never had a debate in my life except with my wife, and I lose those every time, but sure, I'll come. And so I did my first debate sometime.
I got to stop it for this one instant. I hate his corny ass humor. Anyone else? Like, seriously, what? Oh, you know, I'm just a regular guy, you know, and I'm just like excited, like, you know,
you have to understand something about a lot of these guys who are just fundamentalists. They can't be crass and crude because of their faith, so they're stuck with just really corny jokes and end up being really sexist and homophobic anyway. But you know, it's their brand of humor that's acceptable in the eyes of the Lord. So I try to keep that in mind. And when I hear someone like Seamus or G-Man try and crack a joke, it's really shitty because there's certain areas that they can't go to, or certain things that they have to harp on, and they do it so shitty that it's not even worth, you know, mentioning.
I don't know, like the way G-Man laugh. I mean, it's almost like the blow on drugs. It's crazy. Like he will laugh at virtually any damn thing. Like, I got that for a video. How you doing? How you doing, freaking Alex? I'm not playing. Like, for some reason, I feel like that. G-Man, if you're watching, and if you're on that stuff, I gotta be honest with you. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Stop. You stop.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's continue. He probably gonna get pissed off later and make a video about that. I don't give a fuck.
Mid or late, I don't remember, 1989, I believe. And we had over 1,000 people came to it, and it was, I think, just it was sad the way he simply could not defend his evolution theory. That led to a bunch of churches and schools asking me to come speak on creation and versus evolution, and led to several other debates. I'm not looking for a fight. I think this topic is incredibly important. If the creation story is true and there's a creator, there might be some rules of accountability to that creator, like thou shalt not commit adultery, or something like that. And there are some people who are so desperate to avoid the creator's rules, they will believe things that I think are just flat stupid, like, you know, they came from a rock 4.6 billion years ago, which is really what evolution boils down to.
Oh yeah, because, you know, the rock 4.6. Where the hell is this rock? I mean, is this like a stupid joke at panspermia or some shit? Like because seriously, like it is vague as shit. I don't even know.
You have to understand, a lot of these guys are attacking straw men of what they think science is. So he's not really going to accurately depict evolution, abiogenesis, panspermia, or anything that conflicts with a theology, because then that would be honest. He would have to attack it based on its own merits and not based on his misunderstandings. And that's why you hear G-Man constantly attack the Darwinian evolution that has been refined, I guess I could say, over the last 50 years at least. So that's just something that I always remember when I hear him talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's really a stupid way to be clever, but just stick with the discussion. I mean, because we could easily do that with them. Oh, you believe in a sky day that that made you out of like dirt and shit, so you're dirt people, you're dirty. Like we could do that, but it doesn't really advance anything. But whatever. It's some culture war bullshit. Chris, what you guys think?
Yeah, like we could like go about our arguments like in a better way. When these guys just do this shit where they say, "Oh, well, you believe you came from a monkey," like I can't take that seriously. That deserve whatever shit that happens. You friggin' like I want to friggin' lambaste these guys each time they say stupid shit. Because it's just like, what would be a good example? It's like these guys who are in politics, basically. They use their beliefs to infringe on people's rights, and they refer to their Bible as their source of morality.
Okay, let me help you out because I feel like you're struggling to look for one.
I am.
Have you ever heard of the Satanic Temple, darling?
Yes.
Okay, well, interesting fun fact. They recently just challenged. Let's see, in Missouri, they challenged the 72-hour waiting period for an abortion because they said it violated their religious freedom. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
The idea of a group using their beliefs to infringe on like some services and stuff like that. Like who does that sound familiar to?
Sounds like fundamentalist Christians, basically.
Yeah. That is a joke.
Yeah.
That's basically an attempt at trolling back, but
Yeah,
that
that's
argument
why I
against them.
call Satanists like the trolls, the natural trolls of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's fucking fun.
Yeah, they are funny and cool. That's awesome. But anyway, let's get going with the video.
I don't mind that they believe that. I do mind that they use a lot of lies to support that theory. And I really mind that they want all the taxpayers to pay for that lie to be taught, that religion to be taught in our school system. So, yeah, that kind of got started in 1989 when I moved to Pensacola and put in the editor, the newspaper battle back and forth, into the debate, and then before I knew it, I was getting invitations to go everywhere.
Okay. Well, I guess the thing that excuse me, but I think I'm getting an echo.
I wouldn't know what to do about it.
You can mute, you freaking dipshit of a genius. Oh, evolution, stupid. The Bible is real science. I'm getting some feedback from Mark. I don't know what to do about that. I'm too stupid to mute. Fake genius.
Do you have headphones?
No.
Okay, that might be it. You either have headphones or something like that. Yeah, I'm getting like a bad reception, like I can hear myself.
Okay, I don't have headphones plugged in, but I could. Should I?
I'm sure. Either have some headphones or do something where the speakers are don't come through the recording, because when you talk, sometimes I can hear myself.
Okay, I'm gonna skip this part. It's stupid.
We are now back shortly. Sorry if that was too short for you. Really didn't have time to go up, use the bathroom or anything. But you know what, audience? We're gonna keep continuing. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about, obviously, was you teach creationism. So, like, describe the theory of creationism in your own words. Like, how would you describe what creationism actually is? Some people have misconceptions about what it is, I'm sure.
Okay, sure. First, I would put the ism on the word evolution. It's creation versus evolution. Ism has, shades of communism, Nazism, Marxism. Ism really goes with evolution. So, the creation story.
What does any of those things have to do with evolutionary theory?
Nothing. Nothing at all. You have to remember, though, too, he's also a conspiracy nut job, though, too. So, he's also one of these people that thinks that, you don't have to pay taxes and it's an illegal system and all that different stuff. So, I used to think Kent Hovind was, I used to hear all these things. Oh, he's the scariest guy, and the atheists are all scared of him. And I shared some videos that I found, like there was a biology guy. He didn't tell him what his credentials were, but he got on the phone with Kent when he was on his radio show and just tore him apart. And I was like, really? This is supposedly the guy that all these atheists are afraid to debate, And I actually went and found that guy on Twitter, and I was, asked him, about his little discussion with him, and he was like, "Guy's a complete moron." And I said, "Have you ever considered having a talk with him again now that he's out of prison?" He goes, "No, I don't waste my time with idiots like that."
I would challenge this guy to an interview / debate, but I would have to be drunk just to listen to this dribble. Like there is literally no basis at all to his points. He fails to make a cogent argument, and he just he could talk shit basically about like scientists, but he's too dumb to freaking get some headphones for his dumb ass. All right, well, okay. Yes.
Is very simple. In the Bible, God created everything in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. That is just the only possible way a creation like ours could work, because we have plants created within a day or two of the animals. Plants breathe in CO2 and give off oxygen. Animals do the opposite. So the exchange or reciprocation of the gases, it's essential that they be created, within a day or two of each other, as opposed to the
what? What? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's
you
not
have,
correct.
So hold on. You got transitioning states of matter, like based from laws of physics, but somehow that had to be created within a day or two. Like that. Therefore, that's the implication. What? There's no way in hell you could extrapolate that. That's bull.
Evolution theory, which has millions of years of plants before there's any animals. Plus, you have so many millions and possibly billions of symbiotic relationships where certain plants require certain animals, or certain animals require each other, or certain plants require each other to survive. There are certainly millions or billions of symbiotic relationships. Example, the yucca cactus, YUCCA, require.
Yeah, but by the way, those symbiotic relationships, it's called coevolution. For example, the bees have adapted to, be able to pollinate certain plants. They need to continue that process. They've been doing it for the last 23 million years or so. Without that process keep on going, they would die, and our ecosystem would be greatly affected. So, don't really see what he's going about, and I fail to see the Bible even mentioning anything about symbiotic relationships or gases or any of this scientific stuff he's trying to shoehorn into his religion. But this isn't really a creative thing, I mean, I've heard Muslims try to do this too, but they've just made it look bad. Any other thoughts?
How he explains things, like he thinks it's scientific, he thinks it's factual. It's not factual at all. It's absolute nonsense. Even people who have no knowledge of science would say that this dude is an idiot.
Mm. Yeah, we agree.
That's how stupid it is.
All right, let's keep going.
There's the yucca moth to pollinate it, and the yucca moth requires the yucca cactus for food supply. So here we have a plant and an animal in complete symbiotic relationship. How could one live without the other? You have termites that chew wood and swallow it, but cannot digest it. In the gut of the termite, tiny, there are little flagellated paramecium that actually digest the cellulose. Those little paramecium cannot live outside of the termite, and the termite cannot live without them. Two totally separate animals in a complete symbiotic relationship, and that's just a few of the literally millions and billions of these symbiotic relationships. So I don't think that's explainable from the evolution standpoint without making up a bunch of just so stories.
Argument from ignorance, herpaderp. So you're too stupid to actually look up coevolution. Therefore, creation must be the only way. Like big logical fallacy right there. What the hell? Anyone else point out the stupidity?
I'm just listening, and each time he says something stupid, I'm like, how can you believe this shit?
I mean, I don't know, bro. He's probably senile, whatever.
Yeah, he's like in his 50s.
I'm trying hard not to react to every stupid thing he says. It's hard.
Yeah.
God created them. That, of course, raises the issue of who is God and where did he come from? Which God did it? Is it Allah, Buddha, or Jehovah? That's a whole different set of arguments. But to start off, I think we'd all have to admit, at least anybody open-minded would say, okay, there had to be a creator of some kind. There certainly had to be a beginning. We humans are stuck in an entity called time that nobody seems to understand. But we're stuck in time, space, and matter. Well, the Bible starts off in Genesis chapter 1. It says, in the beginning, time, God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. And by the way, time, space, matter have to come into existence in that order. You can't have matter if you have space to put it in. You can't have matter or space if you don't have time. So the Creator, I would believe, the Bible teaches clearly that this Creator God is outside of time, space, matter, and not limited by them. This is not 2015 in heaven. There is no time. If God is limited or stuck in time like we are, then he's not God. Time becomes God, which I think is probably the truth with evolution theory. Time is their God. Given enough time, they think anything can happen. A frog can turn into a prince if you give it billions of years. I do admire the great faith of the evolutionists. I mean, it's unbelievable the things they believe. They have incredible faith.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's kind of nonsensical given the fact that, I mean, okay, we understand that the earliest point in the universe is like the Big Bang, basically, like when the like that expansion, you know, like when it spreads out, you know, and you know, complexity begins and all this. You know, there really is no, you know, T before. What was that? There is no T before T equals 0. That's like asking what is the North Pole. So what the hell he's talking about is literally not. You can't define it by definition. So when he says he knows what happens before something, it's bullshit. You know, and more importantly, it's not that if you give it enough time something happens. It's that there are basic variations and a mechanism, natural selection, which weeds out, you know, like fit genes from unfit genes, and given enough time and variation, you know, complexity sprouts. I mean, that's not like that. Time is not God. It's just part of the, you know, equation by which we explain that biodiversity. That's like trial and error. You know, you got the reason we have knowledge of world genomes comes from the fact that they can reproduce, and you know, you got enough genetic changes built into get that those adaptations. Dipshit. I mean, this stuff is real easy. I mean, to learn.
Well, if a conspiracy theorist, when you factor that in, it makes sense because conspiracy theorists, they are hyper skeptical of everything. but the only things they will not be skeptical of most of the time are what is the beliefs that they hold. Like, for example, 9/11 truthers, they will hold to the theory that, oh, 9/11 was an inside job. Like, they will adhere to this base notion, but that will change over time. It may take 5 years, 6 years, but it will change. And with the Big Bang, like, I presented like this when I was talking with Admin and East and Veckel, and it's like, where's your proof? I gave you the proof, the background radiation that we've picked up on, and they deny that shit because they question the government, they question scientists without having any knowledge in science.
I mean, it's weird, they say one moment science does support the religion, but then it doesn't. I mean, it's this weird tradition that usually steps in, but whatever. Let's continue on. Like, he's full of shit with these claims.
I scorn their science. That's not science. It's a religion. But I do admire their faith. Okay.
Okay. So
yeah, because with his diploma mill papers, that makes him an arbiter on what is science and what isn't. But okay.
Yeah, you described creationism that pretty well in your own words. Now, don't take this in the wrong way, but a lot of people, when they are dealing with evolution, that not everybody quite understands what evolution is. Do you believe you have a good understanding of evolution?
I think I have an excellent understanding. I taught science 15 years. I think the problem is the word evolution is too slippery. And like any court of law, you have to carefully define the words before you can discuss the topic.
Okay, well, how would you define it then?
Well, I would give it 6 different meanings to the word. If you want to write these down in order, I think all of a sudden it'll make sense. The very first one would have to be cosmic evolution. We have to have the origin of time, space, and matter. Where did that come from? Then, they say, of course, it came from the Big Bang. That's their answer to that. Okay, well, what exploded? Where did you get this matter? Where did you get this energy? Where did you get the time? Then you'd have to have chemical evolution, because the Big Bang supposedly made hydrogen or maybe some helium. But how did you get the 92 elements? So that would be the second meaning of the word.
Okay, he's going out. Okay, now he's doing that classic bullshit where he brings up different contexts of the use of the word evolution. Now, the specific one that he's actually contesting, he's actually focusing on, is in fact biological evolution, which refers to evolutionary theory, the change in allele frequencies in a population over time. Not really slippery, not really hard to understand. It's only when you try to actually let's see, generalize these terms and try to make them to be something obscure. I mean, whenever these other like contexts are used, it's usually just to describe like the overall changes in the complexity, not anything related with biological evolution. Everyone get that?
Yeah, it makes some sense. I have to brush up on my science, honestly. Well, the thing is, they take the definition of words and they don't realize that words have different usages in the different contexts. Like, words that, like theory, for example, they don't understand what a theory is, honestly. They think the Merriam-Webster definition of theory is the same thing as the scientific definition of theory. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, Green, you guys think the same, right? Yes, sir, FK, alright. Continue on with the video.
Evolution. The third one would be stellar evolution. How did the stars evolve? Now, some people agree reverse, doesn't matter to me. The point is, stars have to have to come into existence. There's a whole lot of stars out there. Nobody has ever seen a star form.
Yeah, while that might be true, there are still computer models that allow us to understand like how these things work, and you have the like the the exact composition of like those certain particles and stuff that you could actually measure. That like it's capable of that being done.
It just comes down like they.
Yes, about that. My shit got frozen for a second.
Okay.
What were you saying?
I was going to say like they really don't care about science in the long run. They will care about science when they think that it vaguely coincides with their beliefs, but otherwise they will discredit anything else. Like it's like the friggin' Republicans who say, "Oh, homosexuality is a choice." It's not a fucking choice. Even though scientific studies have been done, they don't accept that shit because they think, "Oh, they fabricated the results and shit." No, that's not the case.
Yeah. It's a conspiracy. It's all a conspiracy for people to learn stuff and know knowledge. All right, let's keep going on with this.
All we see are stars blow up, called a nova or a supernova if it's a big one. So we've never seen a star form, and yet NASA's last estimate that I heard about was 76 trillion stars, or 11 trillion apiece for every human on the planet. Fourthly, we have to have organic evolution. Life has to get started from non-life. We've never seen that happen. Nobody can even make it happen. One atheist I do.
Okay, abiogenesis, not the same as evolution, and actually there actually have been studies that indicate that given certain conditions like a Goldilocks zone and the right the right equation complexity can start cells can actually begin. There's actually a basis for this but if you don't care about context you're gonna get gibberish like this.
Well, they don't care ultimately. Like as I said before, they don't understand the different terms of words. They don't understand that the difference between evolution, like the colloquial use of evolution, and the scientific.
How do you get a dog from a non-dog, basically?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah. All right. Continue.
David said, well, Kent, if someday scientists make life in the laboratory, what are you going to say then? I said, well, I'm going to say that proves it takes intelligence to make life. Like, duh. If a bunch of scientists spend a bunch of billions of tax dollars to create life in the laboratory, which is nowhere close, okay? But if they did, that would prove creation, not evolution. So number 4, organic.
So does that make us gods, basically, if we do that? Or since we're already like close to doing that? I mean, they produced. I mean, technically, we produced like an artificial form of chemical evolution in the labs. With with artificial through artificial means, like sort of like a robot type thing. So.
Well, you have to use man's technology and knowledge to do all that stuff, and you're playing God when you do that.
Oh yeah. So basically, okay, if we're gods now, then I decree that Kent Hovind is bullshit and needs to be damned forever to the realm of infinite dipshits for his lies about science. Yeah, I proclaim that shit.
Don't send him here, please, Wolf. Please.
Evolution is the meaning. Number 5, macroevolution is changes between the kinds where an animal produces something other than its basic kind. And that's misnamed, but they call it microevolution. That's variations within the kind, like dogs and wolves probably had a common ancestor. That does not prove dogs and bananas had a common ancestor.
Not Okay, now this is a classic one we all love, like the freaking micro and macro, which is essentially saying that you could walk to the kitchen, but you can't walk to LA.
Yeah, I don't like this use of kinds. I've asked G-Man, I've asked every other person who's used that term, where does that fit in our idea of taxonomy? And they can't give me a definite area. They can't give me is it a genus, is it a species, like what is it? And so it's just based on their loose observation of what they think something is, even though we have animals that look a hell of a lot like something that it's not. So I just honestly can't respect somebody who doesn't know basic taxonomy and who claims that he knows the secrets of the fucking universe.
Yeah, I mean, we have a basis for this. I mean, we can infer speciation and the divergence of life through through homologous structures, through like the morphological similarities, genetics, right down to DNA. I mean, this is how we determine one's paternity, ancestry, or if they committed a crime. I mean, like the same principle extends to like different species. You could infer this. We've also seen it in the labs, so there really is no contention here. There is with this kinds and its fakeness, but let's just keep going. All right.
Every farmer on planet Earth, in every country of the world, and all throughout all of known history.
Okay, hold on 1 second, Brett.
Unbelievable.
My bad, that was a phone call. Anyway, back now. Let's begin with this crazy ass video. Okay. Okay. Now he said something about.
Of the world, and all throughout all known history. Every farmer of everything, whether it's plant or animal, depends on evolution not happening.
Is he really this fucking stupid? A herpaderp, freaking selective breeding. What the hell are you talking about? Like, you think a freaking, you think a cow like just naturally gets milk? You think crops just just they happen to like produce like the right kinds for us? There's a reason we do that. We harvest them. We select the ones that work. That's the same principle as natural selection. What the hell? It's so stupid.
Unbelievable. I had no idea that every farmer.
No
idea.
What are they on? Like, do fundies really think we're afraid of this idiot?
No, let me give you, and I think that you understand this feeling too, Wolf. When you believe in something like this, that you are God's chosen one, some all-powerful entity's chosen one, this feeling, it's addictive. It's like a freaking drug.
It is. Truly.
That's how I felt when I was in my spiritual bullshit and losing my fucking mind. That's how I felt. I felt like I was on top of the
I don't even.
So.
Well, I get that. I get that to a degree, Chris. And I gotta be honest with you. When I think about like how infinite the universe is and how we're kind of bound to it by these these basic like laws of physics and chemistry and all this. I mean, yeah, it does feel awesome, but to I don't know, to say stuff that factually speaking, is not true, and have a shit-eating grin as if you have some ounce of being some notion.
All deists don't seem to be that impaired.
Deist
Yeah.
or deist?
Well, deist or whatever, All
So-
believers in the plausibly supernatural aren't that impaired, I hope.
Yeah, but the deistic God is more so like this being created everything, then said fuck it, leave its creation to its devices. Basically.
Yeah. It's pretty plausibly impaired, I agree. Our good host, Wolf, may be having connection issues.
Yeah, he needs to get a better mic and like also better connection. Switch his channel probably. Will help a lot, I hear. And also, if can't. No, this goes for anyone who believes that they are like to this degree that Kent Hovind is like they thrive off the shit like a drug. It doesn't matter if what they are saying is a lie. It's like a freaking drug.
I don't think they honestly think it's a lie. Many of them genuinely believe the things that they do, and they believe that there is some type of, I don't know, conspiracy or something to withhold the truth from people, and they are the ones that are doing the righteous duty of educating the public, or whatever they want to call it. But I don't think that they're completely charlatans. I think they are misguided, but I think they're legit.
I agree with you, Dragnot. Not liars, maybe delusional, but a lot of them say these things sincerely and believing them. Yes.
Yeah, I'll agree. Like they just really out there, honestly.
It gets sloppy. It gets sloppy real fast.
Well, it looks like we might be going offline if Wolf doesn't connect within the next few minutes.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-minute
Grace
shutdown,
period,
automatic shutdown, I think.
Yeah, they don't give you very much time.
Should be 15 minutes in my opinion.
Yes. May Google Plus hear your words. From your mouth to Google Plus's ears. Absolutely.
Google don't give a shit.
It doesn't care. This automatic software just doesn't care.
That's why they'll flag your video if they even detect like a soundbite of some program or TV show in there.
Yeah, it's not people making these decisions. It's almighty Google software. Well, I'm going to go potty before I stink up this place. Hey, good to see you guys.
Okay.
See ya.
Just hang tight. Two more minutes. Ah, you made it just in the nick of time. I think, at least. Heat connection problems.
You still alive?
Yes, we're still live, I think. I believe.
Okay. Alright. Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties are a bitch now, but we got them fixed. Alright. Damn, I hate when I lose my train of thought.
All right, you make it back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. But I'm back again. Alright. Show must go on.
Now, they can believe it if they want, but it's purely a religion. It's not science. And I resent them calling it science and wanting to use everybody's tax dollars to pay for it. Come on. It's a religious belief. I don't care. You can believe you came from the giant cheese monkey in the sky if you want, but that's not science. Things we can observe. So microevolution, number 6, I would say, is certainly observable, demonstrable, scientific. We can, with a little bit of natural selection or artificial selection, create bigger dogs or smaller dogs. They may get a dog as big as the Great Dane or as small as the toy Chihuahua. Okay. But they're never going to get a dog as small as a flea or as big as Texas. There are limits to these changes.
No shit. It's not a ladder, you idiot. It's a freaking tree. Wow. I mean, the stupid part is, okay, so natural selection is true, artificial selection is true, genetic changes can happen. So what's the problem? You basically accept every principle that it has. You just don't accept the implications, you moron.
It's not God's word.
Yeah, that's like saying like freaking, oh, you know, if we get 2 and 2, it equals 4. You know, that doesn't mean you're gonna get 164. Like, what the fuck? Drag, what do you think?
I don't hold his resentment, and I don't think that holds any weight. The guy has the equivalent to, I want to say, like a year or two of community college as far as his credentials go. So, like I said, I don't hold any credence to his statements about what he considers science. He doesn't know what science is. He doesn't possess the knowledge to identify what science is. And I just think it's a shame. And even other creationists who have legitimate PhDs from accredited universities have kind of called him out on that, because he goes around calling himself doctor and making statements such as these as if he is an authority figure.
I mean, he's not even. I mean, okay, I know I talk a lot about science on my channel. I know I do that. The reason I do that is because I have a conviction about science, basically, that it's the best, it's the most reliable method to understand how the universe works, right? Now, while I have my own experiences in college, like understanding certain subjects like anthropology, psychology, and stuff like that, biology, all this, I've never claimed to know more like than an expert, or say that I have direct influence with the data or anything like that, because I'm always seeking to learn more. However, what I do say I have, and I kind of stress to other people, is scientific literacy. Basically, I understand the scientific method, how that works, observation theory, and scientific laws and stuff like that. And I encourage people to get informed so they can talk about issues that pertain to it. Like bacteria and how that stuff gets more resistant over time, and or climate change and stuff like that. But these little things that you want to make sure you have if you want to talk about this stuff. But this guy, he's just divorced from reality. All right, let's keep going.
And all of the limits, all of the variations of the dog kind that are selected by man for some reason are deleterious. They make it worse off, less likely to survive in the wild. Turn all the Chihuahuas loose into the woods and watch how long they survive. They wouldn't make it a week. And so the changes that have been created by man, let's just take the dog kind, that's a simple to understand. All of those changes are variations of an already existing gene code. They've been trying for years to get faster dogs, like the Greyhound racetrack here in Pensacola. Okay, well, why don't they get wings on a dog to fly around the track in 12 seconds? They've hit a stone wall as far as the limit. I don't know what the speed is now. But
well, okay, why don't we get wings on a dog? Well, for one, it's a four-legged carnivorous mammal. Why the fuck would it need wings? It's already adapted to a certain environment, you idiot. And it's been artificially bred by humans to do certain other things. So it flying is irrelevant. I mean, holy shit.
same with horses. I know it's about 2 minutes to run the Kentucky Derby, 1 1/8 mile. It's been the same record since 1900. Plus or minus a half second. They're not changing anything. They've probably pretty much bottomed out or topped out on horse speed, in spite of millions of dollars of research and horse breeding. They're still at 2 minutes. Okay, well, again, I would say, why don't you breed wings on the horse? Or why can't they get it as fast as the cheetah? The horse variations, like the horse, the zebra, the mule, probably had a common ancestor. I wouldn't argue about that. That would not be any evidence that the horse and the banana are related, or the horse and the...
I feel like smacking this guy if I ever see him, and just saying, "You was a dumb bitch." I just gotta be honest with you. I just did that because you have wasted humanity's time. What the fuck?
Well, I wouldn't slap him. I just lambaste him and roast him in front of everyone to see and make a spectacle of him, because this is what guys like G-Man and him deserve, honestly, in my opinion, because they really do need a kick in the ass to get back into reality.
I can't stand that shit-eating grin and the dumb shit he says, something and a banana somehow. Yeah, because literally you could find the divergence, between that. It's not that, that's not a complete fucking straw man. That's completely accurate. This is painful.
The tomato, which is really what evolution says. The evolution theory teaches all life forms have a common ancestor, and that's a pure fairy tale. I think it's incredibly stupid. But hey, they want to believe it? Okay, I don't care what you believe. Just don't force that down other kids' throats, okay?
Oh man, objection. Why?
What the fuck? Really, I hate when G-Man says this shit. Oh, well, you believe that it came from a cherry and a lime. You believe you came from a lemon and a raspberry. You think you came from an apple. It's freaking ridiculous. It's retarded.
I mean, yeah, and the idea that there's a universal common ancestor being a fairy tale, yeah, that's totally, that's fake. The fact that all life is based on cells, the fact that there's one universal gene code that diversifies life, all needing water to survive, yeah. The fact that that life is connected on an atomic basis, such as through a universal common ancestor. That's just insane. That's not science. But the idea that we were magically created by a sky daddy, that's invisible. You can't see him or hear him. That makes total fucking sense. Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I really don't hold Kent Hovind in very high regard, and his opinions mean a little less than shit to me. So, I mean, he can claim that the last 40 years of genetic research is invalid based solely on his opinion, but I require something a little bit more substantial other than his vapid opinion.
Agreed. Continue.
Okay. So, in that case, if you're saying evolution creationism, or whatever you want to call it, is this unbelievable, then why don't you feel more people would take creationism seriously?
I think most of the surveys, I show this in my seminar, which you can watch on drdino.com or Kent Hovind Official. Most surveys show that about 50 to 60% of the U.S. population believe the Earth is less than 10,000 years old, and God created it. Another 30% on top of that think God created it.
Oh, I love this. Argumentum ad populum. I love that.
Yeah, it makes no freaking sense. It's one thing with these Christian beliefs that there's thousand upon thousand denominations, and they will say, oh well, Christianity is the most popular religion, but all these denominations, there's a different denomination, and if one of these denominations has to be right, and if they are not, if all of them, they can't all be right, honestly, and each denomination thinks that the other is not right, and it just gets into this mindfuckery territory where which one is right, which one is wrong, and honestly, either way, you have to say you're fucked, honestly, with whichever denomination you pick, because you can't know for certain which is the best brand of Christianity to follow. It makes no sense. It's very confusing, too. What are your thoughts, Sydney?
Well, I don't see what's so confusing. Well, I just dropped in now, so I didn't really hear the beginning of it. I just heard the tail end. But I heard you say which brand of Christianity to follow. Is it Is it a difficult choice? I don't see why it's a difficult choice.
Yeah, but that's more or less getting off topic. We were talking about the Kent Hovind interview that Keefees had, but let's just continue the drivel, shall we, gentlemen?
But it's probably millions of years old. So about half the people in America believe the Earth is millions or billions of years old. That is after, 80 years of intensive propaganda to push that view. But still, about 50% do not believe it. Now, you don't decide truth based upon majority opinion. But if creation was taught in schools, or I think if just simple science was taught in schools without any reference to evolution, a much higher percentage of the people would believe the obvious. For instance, the moon is going around the Earth. Most people agree with that. But the moon is getting further away from the Earth, about 2 inches a year. Okay, well, then that means it used to be closer. If you bring the moon back in closer, you start to create some problems, like higher tides, greater beach erosion, greater braking action from the tidal bulge of breaking on the surface of the Earth, causing the Earth to slow down. And eventually, if you bring the moon closer, the gravitational pull becomes stronger, and the orbit would collapse. Probably about 1.2 to 1.4 billion years ago, the Moon-Earth system orbit would collapse. Okay, well, why are we teaching our kids in school then that the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, when just the lunar recession problem says that's not possible? You look up at the sun and you'll notice it's burning. And it's burning up a whole lot of fuel, about 5 million tons every second. Okay? If you go back in time and add 5 million tons to the sun, it starts to become more massive, which of course increases the gravitational pull on all the planets. And it's just not common sense to say all these planets have been going around this sun while this sun is losing weight. It's just not common sense 101 to say it's billions of years old. There are about 100 factors like that are called geochronometers. Some are stronger than others, of course, as evidence, but it would really only take one to disprove evolution.
So fucking stupid. Yeah, so there's some, so in his mind there's some internal inconsistency with the sun and the moon and how it moves, therefore biological evolution is impossible.
No, 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 no. He's saying that the mass of the sun over time has to be becoming less and less and less and less as it burns up its fuel. So therefore, the gravitational pull on the planets that are revolving around it has to lessen as well. Well, he's got a point there, maybe. I mean, doesn't it make sense that the sun is burning off fuel at such a rate that a billion years ago it wasn't as dense, or
no, but he's saying it has some contention with billions of years. No. He's saying it's worse than that. He's saying that because they've moved a certain way, that therefore, biological evolution is impossible. He just disproved it, and I fail to see how that's
biological.
Yes. He literally just.
I want to address that issue he brought up, which it's kind of true. I'm not a scientist, and obviously there's a scientific answer, but the sun has been burning up its fuel for some billions of years, and you've got to figure that there's got to be an answer why all the planets are still revolving around the sun the same way now, than it did 4 billion years ago. So I'm just wondering, how does science explain that?
Explain what exactly? Like the issue.
Well, if in my understanding of science, the sun, for example, is a big ball of fire. It's a ball of burning fuel. Now, as this fuel burns, I'm assuming that the mass of this sun becomes less and less and less as it as it burns more and more fuel. And if that's true, if the mass becomes less, then it has to affect the gravitational pull between the sun and the planets somehow. Again, I'm not a scientist, and I know there's a scientific explanation, but I just don't know what it is.
I mean, okay, with the way the sun works, I mean, when you're looking at it, you're seeing only like a few, like at least a little over 8 minutes, when you're seeing transit, right? It's more noticeable with sound and and the distance around it, but only like the light from things like distance explosions, they become much faster, but there's still a delay in the time. Now, if you're talking about like really on a cosmic scale, they're not really minor, and actually you can notice them. I mean, that's why astronomers, when they actually focus on the sun, they're seeing we have an understanding about this, and this is how we measure light years, for example. All right, when you're talking about, when you're looking at it and it's 4 light years away, that's literally 4 years from our perspective, right? So when astronomers look at objects in the region of space, as the Hubble Ultra Deep Field, they're seeing those stars over 10 billion years ago. All right, so but I mean it's like relativity. That's how that works. But I mean when you get some Dunning-Kruger fuckhead who thinks that because they're too stupid to understand like basic science, therefore the Bible's true, I get this. So stop it out. Let's continue with this dipshit video, shall we? Well, this dipshit in this video talk about this stuff.
If any one of the geochronometers are true and time is not available, then the evolution theory collapses in a heap. I think it's a dumb theory anyway, but without time, it's a real dumb theory and everybody sees it. I mean, if I told you to turn into a prince, everybody would say, well, Kent, that's a fairy tale. I agree. But what if I said if the frog can slowly turn into the prince over millions of years? Well, now that's modern science, and they'll put that in the textbook. And that is what the textbook says. It just is silly. And I don't mind people believing in that, but it's not science. It's a religion in every sense of the word. And
he really has nothing. He really has nothing else other than this. I mean, I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna stop it, but like, he has his own ignorance and incredulity, and because of that, you know, his Bible's true. Bullshit.
They should admit it. The problem is, if the creation story is true, that means there's a creator, and that comes with a whole lot of baggage, like rules, thou shalt not. They don't want those rules. So they would rather deny the obvious. Hey, somebody had to make this, because it brings along some lifestyle changes that they don't want to make. That's their choice. We'll see how that works out for them, Judgment Day.
Okay, what does any of that have to do with like how life diversifies over time? And seriously, anyone on the panel, you want to answer this question?
I don't have enough knowledge to really say anything on this, though. I can say, even though I know little, that this dude is full of shit, honestly.
I mean, he said that basically the implications have certain lifestyle changes or choices to make.
Wait, what?
And like what, you didn't hear? Like he basically said that like the reason scientists even talk about this stuff is because they don't want certain rules placed on them, like thou shalt not, and certain lifestyle choices that people have to make that they don't want to. I mean, it's a straw man, basically. It was basically rhetorical.
Yeah. Just like every other freaking Christian apologist or evangelical fuckwit, basically saying, oh, well, you weren't designing all these complicated theories to usurp God's law. Like, fuck you.
Right.
Well, those are some interesting views there. Now, what are your thoughts on, because without getting too much about what I believe, what exactly are your thoughts on theistic evolutionists? Because there are a lot of Christians that do say that evolution and the Bible can work.
Well,
You show me where it fits in, and I'll start to talk about it.
What?
I don't see how they fit together at all. I know they say that it can, but they can't demonstrate that where does creationism fit in any way whatsoever to the story of science? Where?
I mean, it's really irrelevant. We're just gonna hear it from his perspective. I mean, yeah, there are a good number of people that do say that it was just a process that God used. And technically, just to be fair, yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I've already said this earlier. It doesn't necessarily disprove it. Just makes it. It just makes the whole notion of a deity irrelevant with regard to explaining the biodiversity. But never mind that. Let's just hear this guy talk about this shit.
Grim, which is it? First of all, there is no need for that. Everything can be explained with a literal biblical interpretation of an instant creation and then a worldwide flood. And secondly, I would ask, what kind of a God would have to do that? I mean, evolution is a cruel process where one animal survives a little better or evolves a little higher than the others. All the rest of them have to die. It requires death to make anything go on. I mean, millions of animals have to die to drive this process forward. So what kind of a God would do that? It's cruel, it's idiotic, and there's no evidence for it anyway.
Okay. Okay, yeah. What kind of God will do that? Like, I mean, his version of God is fine. The God that'll flood a planet of, not just like animals, but also humans and stuff like that, babies and everything. Because they were cursed by something that he set in motion, and also sacrificing people and shit like this. Demanding the destruction of tribes that didn't believe in him or anything like this. Confusion and all. Like causing confusion because they were trying to, be divine in their own way. I mean, what the hell? Like, projection much?
Let's not forget about the incest and pedophilia. That's another thing.
Yeah, he's really cool with that, and polygamy. Don't forget slavery, misogyny, homophobia, like all this. but they'll pull out they'll pull out their ass that's the Old Testament or something like that. Even though it's supposed to be the same deity of the Old Testament that is incarnate. What mental gymnastics?
Wait, why would we try to compromise the perfectly good Bible that's never been proven wrong with a dumb theory that's never been proven right?
Okay.
I see absolutely no reason for that whatsoever. So that people can do what they want and they will, but I think theistic evolutionists have not thought through the logical conflicts that they create.
Could you play that back again? What he just said? That was probably the dumbest statement I've ever heard in my life.
So now we're going to get to a few of my, because you've been lined up.
What part? Because we're
Just like go back like 30 seconds or something.
okay, fine. Only this once.
Thank you.
That is cruel. It's idiotic, and there's no evidence for it anyway. Why would we try to compromise the perfectly good Bible that's never been proven wrong with a dumb theory that's never been proven right? Absolutely no reason for that whatsoever. So
okay, now what was your what you had to comment on that?
I just thought that was the dumbest statement I've ever heard in my whole life. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, I heard what he said. I said I didn't. The only reason I didn't comment on it was because I wanted to keep the thing going.
Oh, okay. I'd just like to come back to that at some point. Could you bookmark it or something?
I mean, dude, you can comment. You can do it right now.
I don't have it. I don't know where it is. I could say the comment, but I don't know at what time. Give me the time.
Dude, it's around 27 minutes.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah. I know it's stupid, but
no, I just don't see it. I don't see your. I don't know. Thanks for 27 minutes. We can get back to it then later.
All right, fine. Let's keep going.
People can do what they want, and they will. But I think the theistic evolutionists have not thought through the logical conflicts that they've created.
Okay. So now we're going to get to a few of my, because you've been lined up for one day. So my followers actually had a few questions for you. I'm only going through 6 of them. I asked my viewers last time the interview was set up, the one that you didn't show up to, but at least you're here now. If there were any questions that you'd like me to ask you, and I decided to dedicate this part of my interview to those original questions. So don't worry, everybody that had the new questions. That's what the hashtag #QForGuest is for. If you want to ask a new question, use the hashtag #QForGuest, and then I'll read them later in the stream. But for now, I'm just dealing with questions I had asked last time. So Zanny, who's one of my biggest fans around here, he asks, were you ever an atheist or an agnostic at some point in your life?
I don't think so. I was raised in a fairly Christian family. We were Lutheran and Mennonite and Methodist, and certainly not independent temperamental Baptist like I am now. But I don't think I was ever an atheist. I certainly was an evolutionist because that's what I'd been taught. And I knew all the names of all the so-called cavemen, the ancestors of modern man that they taught me in the schools, and so that's all I was taught. And so, yes, I would say I was an evolutionist. I was a double-minded man. I tried to believe both. I knew there was a God, but I didn't know how. I certainly wasn't a Bible-believing creationist until much later in life.
Okay. Preaching Sean asks, and I'm guessing this is concerning whether you're, a King James onlyist or whatever. He says, where in Scripture God promised to preserve His Word in only a single Bible?
Well, I don't know that he made that. He did promise to preserve His Word. Psalms 12, verse 6 and 7 talks about that. He can preserve His Word in every language of the planet if He likes. I think for the English-speaking people, it is preserved in the King James. I don't know where it is in the French or German or Swahili. I don't speak those languages, so I don't know. But God directed it to be written in Hebrew, the Old Testament, and then Greek, the New Testament, with a few little minor exceptions.
Yeah, the only reason it even got to English in the first place was because, originally it was, it became a religion of the Roman Empire, with the Milan deal, like very long ago, like during those millennia ago. Then When the Roman Empire fell, it was the cultural heir to that was the Catholic Church. They kind of bounced off. It was originally in Latin, but when Protestants dispersed and that died off, that language, it got translated into English. But that was only with the advent of the Gutenberg press that was put into English like way later on. But there's that.
Well, you see, the KJV is the best translation because not only is it the original translation, but the translation that people defer to the most is made by a dude who published porn. So that makes the KJV right by default.
Okay.
Verses or passages or other languages. And then I think it was translated into Latin. That became the trade language of the world for quite a while.
Oh, and also, fun fact: the only people that were actually able to read during those times, specifically during the Middle Ages, the only people who could read were religious people. You know, like cardinals, priests, people who worked in the church, and they usually read to to the poor people who couldn't, who were less literate. That was their way of like bestowing knowledge on the masses. But let's just keep going with the video.
And there were 7 different translations into English, the King James being the 7th. In 1611, they compared all the previous translations and used 95% of them. They just tweaked a few words and said, wow, this is correct. They got it right. So that gets into a whole very interesting topic of where is God's Word? First of all, if there's a God, I think He's obligated to give us His rules. What do you want? And He's obligated to preserve those rules. An analogy might be if your city passed a law that said the speed limit on this road is 30 miles an hour.
I love how he could, okay, so in his mind, God is the creator of the universe, master of everything, but He has obligations to humans. I mean, can He, destroy you?
I know, it's just absurd.
Can He just, command a freaking heart attack and then you die? You're essentially a cosmic doll to Him. I believe in God, He's my Lord and Savior, but He's got an obligation to me. He's got, I'm not kissing His ass for nothing. What are you talking about?
And to me, they believe in that shit because they want to get into heaven. They want to get into their imaginary.
I know, it's just the most. That's why I cannot trust these people. They're like zombies from another dimension to me.
Well, you can't trust this guy. Trust me. The video gets even worse. Let's keep going. It's just that he's a special brand of crazy. I'm pretty sure this guy's getting senile.
I don't see why he's any different to any of all the other crazies that we deal with on a daily basis on these hangouts.
Well, he's a piece of shit in the worst way. Let's just listen to it.
We now have to publish the law and post it. Put a sign up, 30 miles an hour. If somebody knocks the sign down, they panic and get out there right away and put up a sign. Because they know if somebody's going to speed, and if there's no sign, they can't give them a ticket, etc. So if God is going to judge us one day, and I believe He is, then it's His obligation to give us His word and for Him to preserve it. He promised He would, and He has an obligation to do so, and I think He's certainly capable of doing that. And so
he could because He said so. Therefore, true. Fuck.
A long journey in the wilderness, I came about 18 years ago, or maybe 20, I don't know, to the conclusion that by the King James Version of the Bible, used to be called the Authorized Version, that's where it is preserved, at least for English people. Okay?
All right. Neil Cloud asks, and I'm not sure too much about how much this is true or whatnot, but he said, do you know that people are purporting that you and your son are teaching two opposite opposing doctrines?
Oh, that's not true at all. My son is preaching in Kentucky this morning and driving home today, I think. He should be home tomorrow. He lives 2 doors down the street. I just took his 3 children to supper with me. We get along fine. We do disagree on a couple of things, but I don't know anybody in the world I agree with on everything. But no, he's a great man of God. We're not teaching opposite things. He's not in the same position with King James that I am, but he will be if he keeps studying. No, we get along fine.
Okay. Mike Van Rip says, have you ever heard of the Sethite view of Genesis 6 and in Job and the consistency of the meaning of the title of sons of God, which is what we as believers, what the Jews were, and what primitive pre-flood believers were?
I don't know for sure what he means by that Sethite. There are those who teach that Adam had another wife called Elith, I believe, which I don't believe at all, and that there's other civilizations and other half-human, half-angelic creatures. So I studied some of that, and I don't believe it for 1 second. The Bible says Eve is the mother of all living. Everybody today came from Eve, so I have to have Mike explain what he means by the Sethite view, and then I'll tell you if I believe it or not.
Okay. The Holy Spackle asks, why is creationism and evolution so important to you?
Well, suppose I'm right. Suppose the Bible's right. And Holy Spackle, suppose he doesn't believe the Bible, and suppose he dies, which he will, or she, whoever it is, okay. You're going to die and be dead for an extremely long time. And I would suggest you pack a lunch for that trip because you're not coming back. And so if I'm right, you have everything to lose. If I'm wrong, you have nothing to lose, and neither do I. I have a wonderful life. I enjoy my family, my grandchildren. Even if I'm wrong, and I do not think I am, but even if I am, this is still a great way to live. The Christian life is a wonderful way to live. It's better for society, obviously. And it's better as a personal level. It makes you a better dad, a better husband, a better grandfather. Yeah, I think it's better in every way to live the Christian life, even if it's not true. So, don't most society.
Okay. Let's see. Pascal's wager. Hello. So, basically, actually, yeah, you do have a lot. All the stuff you did, all the bullshit you've spewed, like the fact that you went to jail because you did not render Caesar under Caesar, the fact that you, like, well, I mean, in this personal case, Kent, but just in general, you know, all of the time you basically put into promoting this would have been wasted for nothing. Okay, and also you can be a good person, have some religion. I mean, look at all the you look at all the secular European countries, Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden. You know, they're highly non-religious, and they're doing well. They're flourishing. People are living happy lives. You know, absent of this, so it's not really a prerequisite to living a good, happy life. So, Pascal's wager, some bullshit, you know, false equivalency. It's nonsense. What do you guys think?
I think it's all nonsense. No, none of the stuff existed. No Jesus existed. No Moses. No Noah. No Adam. No Eve. No body. None of these people existed except for any historic, you know, that's contemporary. But this actual fables, the stories, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, they do throw us like historical Jesus upon, but and still, like, I would agree with like the aforementioned notion that you know, though, I mean, and if anything, like, there's more evidence that this stuff usually builds on earlier mythology, if anything. You know, I mean, like, it's not like the world is literally stops beyond 6,000. I mean, that's ridiculous. Hold on 1 second. Feel free to comment on the recent thing. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, I just want to announce my conversion to the Flat Earth Society. I was at Home Depot the other day, and I had just previously attended one of those Flat Earth Society meetings, and I was in a quandary. You know, why do these guys think the way they do? It's crazy. Anyway, I was in Home Depot, and I asked a Home Depot clerk to demonstrate a spirit, one of those levels. You know, level to me. So she did. She showed me how you know, you can tilt it up and down, and if you put it on the ground, it's level. So I'm thinking, if it's on the ground and it's level, then obviously the ground isn't round; it's flat. So I'm starting to be convinced. What do you guys think? Round table discussion.
Mac's about to head out in a second. But no, I can't get into the round earthers. I keep talking to conspiracy theorists. They're creeping out of the woodwork. I don't know where they're coming from, but I guess I just never noticed them. But the theists are really enough for me, and I think the conspiracy theorists is at a certain level of nuttery that I am ill prepared for.
But why is the theist's nuttery, the Christ mythology, any more or less nutty than any other nuttiness?
Well, I guess it's because it's been normalized. Flat Earth has not really been normalized to the same effect as religious belief.
Oh no, that was just to fill in some time. I wasn't really trying to.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to respond and not be a dick, but I am about to head out. I keep procrastinating on this homework for this lab that I need to do.
Okay.
Might just sit in an off-air hangout and talk while I work on this stuff, but I came to support Wolf in his endeavor, and nice talking to you again, Sydney. See you later, Chris.
Okay, Dragon.
See ya.
Like round earthers, is that like flat earthers? Only like they believe like it's flat but it's round.
No, I was just joking. You press level and you put it on the ground and it's flat. Obviously, it's flat. Forget it. It's just a bad joke.
Yeah. Again, these claims are just
But
absurd.
I want to go back to 27 minutes, to the 27-minute mark, and I want to examine the quote or the statement that Mr. Hovind made.
He basically asserted that the Bible was right and that science was wrong, basically.
But the way he said it, I mean, is what I want to basically focus on.
Well,
the actual phrase he said, something like, when you take something like the Bible, which is so obviously correct or never been proven wrong, and then you throw in some obviously unproven science. I don't know exactly how he said it, but he said it. So
yeah. He said it was never proven wrong. The Bible was never proven wrong, but science is, that
science is iffy.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I mean, no. You know what? To help you out, it's kind of stupid, right? It's saying like, people learning more about like the universe and stuff like that is a bad thing. Oh, we learn something new, every day. That's bad. No, I mean that's ridiculous.
But he says things like, I started out as an evolutionist because I was told that evolution was true, so I believed it. This is what he says. This is like, he's got to be the most. There's got to be something wrong with him. I don't want to insult the man, but he's got to be.
Dude, he freaking. Dude, it hasn't even gotten that. He got his freaking thing he got his diploma from a trailer. He freaking thought he could fool the federal government with this tax fraud bullshit they pulled.
Yeah, he's got this thing of talking and spewing words, right? Sentences that if you listen to them without thinking, they kind of, you'd think they made sense, or they have context of something, because it doesn't sound, none of the words in the sentences sound out of place against each other, but when you actually listen as a whole to what he's saying, he's just spewing BS.
Yeah, I know that's what it is, but
that's why he's got a machine. Like, they're all machine gun mouths. These guys, they just and then they don't let you get. You don't. I would like to take each point they say. Okay, you just said this. Let's discuss it. And then you said that, or each sentence, break it down after they talk. But they talk for an hour. You can't go back and discuss anything because,
it's been derailed. That's the consequence. Let's just go back to it while we.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to listen to whatever else you got going there.
Now, I'd like to ask evolutionists a question. If evolution is true, how do you tell right from wrong? On any topic, is murder right or wrong? And how did you determine that? Why would murder be wrong if evolution is true? Why would anything be wrong? So I don't think the evolutionists have to adopt Christian standards.
Yeah, just to answer that question. Well, first of all, evolution is not about, right and wrong. It's about how, if organisms in a social species, for example, do certain things, like look out for one another, i.e. through kin selection or through looking out for one another at the cost of your own fitness, like reciprocal altruism, that could lead to, more organisms surviving, being able to pass down genes, and you see more of this, these traits being passed on as results, I mean, that's survival instinct. That's how that works. I mean, it's not like this is so impossible that it can't be explained. I mean, that's exactly how we got great in the first place. We got great at working in groups, and we can accumulate knowledge. That's how we actually managed to survive into the dominant species we are today. So, kind of like before any religion came up. So, Kent Hovind, you are a fucking idiot.
He's heading towards the legacy of Harold Camping, of just being laughed at after he dies.
Not likely. Chris, your thoughts?
He touts the Bible like it's this book that cannot be questioned. He does this even though science has pretty much disproved most of the claims in the Bible. It's retarded. If you cannot it's hard. You can't hold these freaking beliefs if you have studied science, or
if you're a sane person.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
It's basically mind-boggling. I know. Let's continue on.
I just want to make one comment before you carry on. You have to be repressing your own intelligence to be religious. You have to do it. In other words,
I don't know about that, but in his case specifically, you have to be a proud idiot to just to actually talk like this. Whatever. Okay.
Whether they like it or not, they do automatically. That's wrong. Why is that wrong? Well, it just is. Everybody knows it. Why does everybody know that's wrong? Why does everybody know murder is wrong? Well, there's something built into us, apparently. So, yeah, I think that I think the topic is important right here for society today. I think it's going to really be important in 1,000 years after you're dead. If you're in hell, you're going to really wish you had listened and believed. So I think a person would be a fool not to thoroughly investigate this topic. Somebody is wrong.
1,000 years in hell. And yet you know this for certain. Please just shut the fuck up.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I guess the last question I have here from the viewers is from Christian. From Christian Anarchist, and he asked, "As an evolutionary creationist, I support your ministry because at least you preach the gospel of Jesus. Congratulations on being free." One question regarding politics: do you think Romans 13 verse 1 states that government and powers are ordained by God?
Absolutely, yes. We have to have government. And I did not break any laws, even though I did go to prison. I think those that are sitting in the seat of government, in my case, the officers over this situation, they broke the law, I believe, in many instances, or twisted it and used it to their advantage. In communist countries, this happens all the time, where they use the law to lock up their political opponents, lock them away for life, or get them killed. I mean, what Hitler did in Germany. I think we have some people in our government, or at least pretending to be in our government, that are doing the same thing, using the law as a bully pulpit or as a club to beat their opponents down. So, yeah, I would love for someone to show me specifically what law exactly that I broke.
My wife and I were taking money out of our own bank account to pay our own bills. About every 12 days, one single withdrawal of $9,500 to have cash on hand for all the projects we had going. We had bought 5.
Yeah, we kind of went over this. He was basically, he broke serious tax laws with regard to structuring. He thought that if he went under a certain if he went under like a certain like spending, amount that and not report on it, that would be cool. It was not his his business was not considered a church, and he still had to pay taxes on, and he did not pay his employees. And he tried to say that they were volunteers, even though the employees agreed that it was not considered a church. All right, he thought he could basically keep this stuff hidden. He thought that he could basically bullshit the government and tax court, but he couldn't. It's ridiculous. But and I actually have a quote right here from let's see, in a detailed 58 ruling, a judge wrote about Hovind's wife. Petitioner also contends that any fraudulent intent during the years at issue was attributable to Mr. Hovind. However, we find it is more reasonable to infer from petitioner's course of conduct that her true intention was to conceal substantially all of her income and take her chances that the fraud would not be discovered. Our finding is supported by the fact that she did not amend her returns until her respondent began a civil investigation in operation of CSE, that's the acronym for their little organization, and along with Mr. Hovind, engaged in a course of conduct designed to conceal and mislead. Yeah, they were making a shit ton of money off their little off their merchandise sales and tried to hide that under their religion, and that's how they got caught up in this bullshit and got their sentencing. But what do you guys have to say about that? I'm curious. I'll be right back.
I kind of support anyone who, Christianity and religion aside, who doesn't maybe try break the tax laws, but tax laws aren't exactly fair in my mind. Just like the tax laws to me are no different. Income tax laws and money tax laws are no different than bylaws for speeding or jaywalking, or your meter expires, so you got to pay a fine. It's a tax. It's all a tax. It doesn't really matter. So if you get a speeding ticket or you get a parking ticket and you fight it in the courts, that's the same thing as what he's doing. I don't see any different. He just maybe did it on a different level, and he went to jail for it, for lying, or whatever he went to jail for. I certainly do not. I do not condemn him from trying to save his money, however he got it. I mean, that's not the issue. If the issue is because he went to jail because he thinks he didn't break the law, or what he said, I didn't break the law, but I still went to jail, because in Hitler in Nazi Germany, they put people into jail for no reasons, and that's probably what they did here, something like that. But in terms of the money thing, I'm not too sure if that's really appropriate for us to discuss, because I don't know if the money thing is actually connected to anything that is the topic of this hangout. Is it?
Basically, just discussing how mostly his absurd claims and his structuring thing. Like you, I agree that some of the tax laws are absurd. Some laws in general, especially in the United States, are absurd. And
all tax laws are absurd. The fact, honestly, the fact that if I make $100, okay, let's say I work for company ABC and I make $100, right? They're going to take a certain amount of tax. Let's say they take 20% tax from me. So they give me They give me, I make $100, they take their $20, and I get $80 back, right? So now with my $80, I have to go and buy my food, my shelter, my clothing, and my life. So I take my $80 and I take say 40 of that and give it to rent. Okay, so now I've got $40 left. So now with this $40 left, I've got to go and buy stuff. And every time you buy anything, you are paying a tax, a sales tax, on what you buy. So, and also you have to pay other taxes like property taxes for your houses and fees for this and fees for that. All that money comes from money that already has been taxed, and all the fees that you pay have a tax included on top of that for which you have to pay. So I am very, very, very anti-tax, paying tax at all. If there was a flat tax of, let's say everybody, like Obama said, if everybody that makes over $250,000 paid 15% tax, and people who earned less than that paid zero tax, wouldn't that be a fairer kind of a tax system? And that's it. That would be the only tax, or even no income tax, and just have the sales tax. But to pay tax on money that I've already paid tax on, that really pisses me off.
I mean, in this context, it was the fact that he was making a certain amount, like several grand, from his thing, and trying to say that because it was a religious, that it was not tax exempt. I mean, he essentially lied. It was.
That's it. If he went to jail for lying or whatever, there's a little bit of yes, you deserve it. But if it's about fighting a tax law, there's no difference than fighting a traffic law.
Concealing and hiding and misleading is not fighting.
It doesn't matter.
It's breaking the law. That's how.
That's money. It doesn't matter. Everybody breaks the law when it comes to money. So let's not point fingers. Let's not point fingers at anybody. Everybody, to some extent, breaks the law when it comes to money.
Sydney.
Yes, sir.
Broke the law. Freaking end up in jail. Simple as that. We're continuing on with this.
All right.
6 older houses in the neighborhood, and we were remodeling them. And so when college students came to when they had a couple hours off of school, we'd say, hey, here's $3,000, take the truck and go buy shingles for this house, or go buy carpeting, or typical construction type stuff. And so we poured a whole lot of money into these houses over 4 years, over 3 years, as we remodeled and did different things. And then in 2002, we stopped doing cash and got credit cards. And I was a little reluctant to send a college student off with the truck and a credit card. But we did that 2002. 2006, my wife and I were arrested with a SWAT team. They came in, took her out of bed without letting her get dressed or put a robe on or go to the bathroom, put her in handcuffs and took her down to the federal courthouse in her nightgown to be indicted along with me for structuring. I said, I don't even know what that is. Well, you took your money out of the...
Okay. For those of you who like this sorry, dishonest, lying piece of slime again, structuring, also known as smurfing in banking industry jargon, is a practice of executing financial transactions, such as the making of bank deposits in a specific pattern calculated to avoid the creation of certain records and reports required by law, such as the United States Bank Secrecy Act. So, yeah. You broke the law when you did that shit.
How does that justify the SWAT team coming in and stealing his wife out of bed with a nightgown, taking her down to the federal courthouse without even letting her go to the bathroom? How do you justify that?
I don't agree with the military.
Yeah, well, maybe when you actually pay the prices of civilization to enjoy the fruits of it, you don't get this problem. But when you're a lying, deceiving piece of shit, you get everything that's coming to you. So, I mean, I really don't know what. I guess it's nice to play devil's advocate, but I really don't know how one would defend such.
My point is that Joel Osteen and all these other guys are obviously breaking tax laws. I mean, they've got zillions of dollars, and they just blink. They got lots of bling, and they got lots of real estate, and they got lots of this and that and
I'm
the
not
other.
sure. I'm not sure.
Obviously, they're breaking tax laws in some way. They're finding loopholes, but obviously, they're not supposed to have what what they
I'm
have.
not even sure. I'm not even sure how accurate that statement is. You know, given the fact that this contains a specific context. But we're gonna get we're gonna move on with Chris' comment, and we're gonna keep on with the video. Chris, what were you saying?
Yeah, like it was going to be like a, like kind of like what he was saying to an extent. Like I don't agree with the SWAT team coming in. Like that, honestly, that comes down to like another problem in America, which is the militarization of our police force, and that is generally a problem. Has been prevalent for like quite a time, like a decade or so. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That there is that. But like I said, if you don't follow the law, you get rough treatment. What can I say?
Yeah, but they're not being violent in any way. Why do they have to be treated with this violence from the state?
Oh, for fuck's sake. There's this little thing called social contracts. You don't follow it, you know. You basically
I understand you get arrested, yes, but why do you have to be arrested with violence? Why does there have to be this sort of shock and awe factor in you being arrested?
Yeah, well, welcome to South America. So that you know that's just what happens. I mean, look, are we really gonna defend bullshit like this? No. Let's keep going on with the fucking video.
Onwards we go.
There's a law called structuring, which I've never heard of. It's apparently to catch drug dealers. Well, I've never taken drugs. I've never tasted alcohol. I'm 62 and a half, okay? Smoked a couple of cigarettes when I was 12 and stupid, but I never did get addicted to that. So I guess I did go to prison for that for 9 years for structuring, and they seized all the money. The U.S. attorney on my case, John David Roy Atchison, you can Google him, he went down and seized the church bank account. And then a few weeks later, got on an airplane, flew to Detroit, had sex with a 5-year-old, got off the airplane with a bottle of Vaseline and a doll, and they arrested him at the airport and put him in jail. And he hung himself in his jail cell, October 5th, 2007. You can Google that. That's the one who put me in jail for taking all the money out of my bank. And
Yeah, I really don't see how that changes the fact that you're still a guilty piece of shit. So.
Still on parole today for 3 more years for probation. So, yeah, I think the law is stupid. I think the way they applied it in my case is criminal and evil. I think there needs to be a complete investigation. Congress ought to get involved and look at this case from start to finish, and everybody involved, all the U.S. attorneys, the judge, the IRS agents, everybody ought to be made to testify before Congress and answer questions.
Yeah, the funny thing is there was actually, I mean, we already had that. It found that you were guilty. You know, it was obvious what you were doing. You were hiding the money. Even when he was in jail, he was doing this. You know, there were phone calls being made. You know, although phones include warnings that conversations are recorded, he did not mince words as he ran up 8 hours of calls for the week. You know. They heard about this stuff and they got pissed, you know. Like he was. This is nonsense. Let's see.
The witness stands under oath, under penalty of perjury, and there should be a complete investigation. So yes, I will defend. Romans 13 is very clear. We should obey the authority. I did obey the authority. They did not. They have an authority too, called the Constitution, called the written law. The law says if you have 2 transactions in one day that total over 10,000, but your transactions are under 10,000, well then, wow, you're trying to evade the reporting requirement. Okay, we never did that. We had 1 transaction, and 12 days later had another transaction. A single transaction cannot possibly be structuring.
Yeah, when you take out at least, let's see, $9,500 to avoid scrutiny, and think that just because it's below that's not wrong, you're talking shit. I mean, nothing more, none less. Keep on.
So, yes, the law is stupid. I did not break it, even though it is stupid. I did not break the law. I think they used it to lock me up and shut me up, and I'm back.
Okay. It's kind of funny because that was all that kind of how you fared in prison was actually the third section of my interview. But since you did answer most of it, I guess I'll just quickly ask you, there's two YouTubers that I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, and I was wondering what your thoughts on them were. So, first of all, your thoughts on this YouTuber that says he knows you, Lone Star, you know him?
Yes, Rudy Davis. I've only met him once or twice. I've talked to him many, many times. I did quite a few programs with him. I don't agree with some of the things he believes, but he's certainly a patriot, loves the Lord, loves our country, loves me. Yes, Lone Star 1776. I know Rudy. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, and the last one is, now he's one of the skeptic YouTubers. Even though I do watch a lot of skeptics, I don't watch his. I'm just not a big fan of it. It doesn't really appeal to me as some of the other ones do. Maybe it's how gamer just doesn't rub off on me. But have you heard of the YouTuber Logic before?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, Logic, he did a whole series debunking your seminars.
Oh, a lot of people claim they've done that. Anybody can do a seminar and claim they've debunked something. I mean, hello. Somebody can do a seminar and debunk 2 + 2 is 4. Too. It doesn't mean they debunked it. They can claim they debunked it. I'd like to know more specifically.
Yeah, that is possible. Friggin', you can disprove 2 + 2 = 4, can't you? Yeah, that doesn't make it true. You know, the same thing with evolution. You claim to have seminars, and try to sell stuff, attempting to disprove evolution. That doesn't mean you actually did that either. You guys think? Yeah, never mind. Let's keep going with this.
It's 18 hours long, like 400 topics in there. Which exactly did he debunk, or does he say he debunked?
Well, he's still working on the series because he tries to dedicate one video to like one part of the seminar, I'm sure. Again, I don't really keep up with him, so you can't quote me on this. But yeah, that's what he's claiming he's done. So I just wondering if you knew who he was. If not, we can move on.
Yeah, I don't recall the name. I get so many hundreds, maybe even thousands of emails and messages and stuff, so I can't memorize all that. I just got a few more minutes. I got grandkids waiting. I mean, I didn't know I missed the previous program. I didn't do it intentionally. Lots of
no, it's okay. I just didn't get. So you already answered like half of the questions for the whole out of prison segment. Now a lot of rumors spread about what went down and why it went down are kind of going around. So do you think just like a brief summary, like just like a few sentences, so you can set the record straight and say like what you got accused for in your own words, if you felt it was justified in that?
I was accused 45 counts of structuring. Over a 3-year period, we took our own money out of our own bank to pay our own bills, one single withdrawal, averaging 12 days apart. They said that is 45 counts of structuring, and it is not. My attorney and the wife's attorney both said, do not even give a defense. There is no crime here, and the jury can see it. The law says it has to be over $10,000. You didn't do that. Okay. So we arrested him.
Well, I mean, it's a blatant fucking lie. I mean, the only reason they didn't give a defense because it was so blatant that he did it. His own freaking employees sold him out at the trial. He was found to have intentionally made with multiple withdrawals of around $9,500 to avoid the scrutiny that comes with withdrawing at least 10 grand, which accounted for 45 of the charges. I mean, that's the definition of structuring.
So what? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, here's the thing.
What's wrong? Hold on a second. If you,
hey, I'm the host. Chill the fuck out, okay?
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna answer your question. That is the definition of structuring. Okay, you do a certain type of you do a certain type of calculation, stuff like this, to say you're under the tax bracket for this, when in fact you're breaking the law. that is tax.
Oh, I don't say he's breaking the law. If it says under 10,000 and you're under 10,000, how can you be breaking the law?
Okay, because here's the thing. All right, if you're trying to say that because it's under a certain amount and you don't have to report where those grants are going, that's structuring. You need to let the federal government know what the hell you're doing with that money.
But it's
right?
under $10,000 for which you don't have to report.
No, that's structuring.
Hold on. Okay.
If you do that, here's the thing: if you execute
one time, I don't have to report it, and nobody cares.
It was multiple. It was done multiple.
Let's just build. I'm trying to build my argument.
Hey, shut up for a second. Let me talk. All right. What the fuck are you even defending this guy? You don't even know what the hell he did. He executed multiple financial transactions in the specific pattern, calculated for the specific purpose of trying to subvert the law. That's the problem, right? That's why.
I don't see that he did. I don't see that he subverted the law. He said none of these transactions were over $10,000. They were all $9,500, which is under $10,000. So he didn't break the law of transferring or of not declaring money that was under $10,000. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about some other law over and above this law, but the law of not declaring money under $10,000, he didn't break that one.
Yeah, he actually did. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you can't understand this. I don't know. I guess because you don't live in America, but I guess that's just the problem. I'm gonna keep going with this because I don't feel like explain this to you again.
No, we'll talk about it when we're done with it.
After closing arguments, the judge changed the jury instructions and said, if you find the Hovins took out less than 10,000, you must find them guilty. We objected, of course, and that didn't go anywhere, and the jury found us guilty based on the very confusing jury instructions given by this judge. That's like saying the speed limit is 50 on this road, and we're going to arrest you for going 49 because you're trying to avoid the speeding ticket. That is exactly how stupid my case was. They arrested me for taking their own money out of their own bank in amounts less than $10,000. Even if it was for drugs, and it wasn't. That's not the government's business. What are they doing? The law is extremely stupid on its face. Congress should repeal it. They should make it retroactive, and they should pay the damages. Last year, the IRS...
Yeah, the problem is he and here's the main thing that actually is the problem here. He tried to say that his business was a church, when in fact he was selling merchandise to people. He was making money through his religious beliefs. He did not render Caesar unto Caesar, and that was the problem. It was not a church; it was a business, and he had
I still have a problem. Honestly, I'm supporting him on this right now.
Okay, you can defend him. I guess you could. There's an argument for defending him, like in the secular sense, though in the biblical sense, he's a freaking hypocrite and a sinner.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be objective to the actual situation of him having sat in jail and having actually taken steps to find loopholes to break tax laws. Is not that I don't think that's a crime. How can that be a crime?
Holy fuck. I mean, dude, okay, pretending to be this guy is that's not a good argument.
I'm saying if I had $1 million, okay, and the law said, okay, I had $1 million sitting in my bank account and I want to transfer it out of the country. Let's say we had the same law you did. So in order to not have to report what I'm doing or declare it, all I have to do is send out under $10,000. I can do that without declaring it. Okay.
Okay. Try coming to the States and then doing that. I'm pretty sure that they'll turn out well for you. Do exactly what this guy did, and I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You won't. They won't ask questions about about why have you been doing this in this specific pattern.
The issue is if I had $1 million and I came to the States, then I would only have about $500,000 because the exchange rate sucks.
if you had a business, holy fuck, if you had a business that you were saying was a church, that you were selling merchandise and you weren't reporting, the exact like transactions that what you were doing, that is structuring. I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, if this is a foreign concept to you, then
Okay, well, but it's not a foreign concept at all. It's just that I just someone to point out to you that you're, I think you're not doing justice to your intelligence if you think that he's the only one who's ever done this in his life, and there aren't thousands of people doing this every single day somehow.
It's not the point. It's not the freaking point. The point is that he was guilty of it. It's irrelevant. I mean, and you're defending him like.
No, the point is he was caught, and
right.
the thousands of people who are still doing it every day haven't been caught. That's a difference.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And you know what? I like his analogy. If you're driving down the street and there's a cop. Hold on a second. There's a cop with a radar gun, right? I
don't exactly have time, so
Okay.
We gotta keep going with the video, okay?
Press reluctantly admitted they seized 150 small businesses' bank accounts for this same stupid law of structuring. It's been in the news a lot in the last 4 or 5, 6 months. Just type in structuring, and you'll see a lot of people. Over $2.8 billion has been seized by the IRS over one of the dumbest laws. In my case, was one of the first. And they realized, wow, here's a cash cow here. We can let somebody work a whole lifetime and build up some assets. We can go in and seize it in a couple of weeks. They're thieves, in my humble, totally unbiased opinion. Okay?
All right.
Totally unbiased opinion. Okay, that I could buy that.
So, but you do, even though the rule is stupid, because there's a lot of stupid rules that we have to follow anyways, you still do realize that the tax evasion thing is a crime, right?
It wasn't tax evasion. It was structuring. The rule was, if you go and take out 2 transactions in one day, you go in the morning, take out 9,000, you go in the afternoon, take out 9,000. That is against the rule. I did not do that ever. We had one single withdrawal every 12 days. There was no violation, period. There was no tax evasion. There was no tax evasion. There was no violation. Even of the dumb law, there wasn't a violation.
So now, yeah. Now, when you were in prison, there was this website up called freekenthovind.com. Are you aware of it?
Oh yes, sir.
All right. Now, I don't know if you've looked into it, but do you feel it's legit, or like how much does freekenthovind.com exaggerate? Because some of it does feel a little bit sketchy as far as it kind of making it seem like it's some big conspiracy theory, you know?
I don't know. I haven't read all of freekenthovind.com, so I don't know. What I've seen on it, I think is true. As far as a big conspiracy, there have always been conspiracies. I mean, Hitler conspired to take over Germany and tried to take over the world. Napoleon conspired to try to take over France and the world. I mean, there's always been conspiracies. Caesar, all through history, there's pinky in the brain kind of folks that want to rule the world. And we certainly have some folks today that think they should rule the world, whether it be via socialism or communism or Nazism or whatever. So, yeah, but I don't know what he teaches on there. So if you give me a specific, I can help you.
All right. But I guess.
Yeah, the only difference is that those actually weren't conspiracies. They actually were in the open. They were reported. They were actually, they were proclaimed. That's the difference. The difference is that you kept what you were doing with your structuring a secret. You did that, with the intention of not being caught, and you were. So, there's that. Chris, what do you have to say?
My honest opinion, this dude is senile. He's batshit insane. I just have no words to say. It's just retarded. Ugh. Oh, well, there's always been plots to control the world. The Romans did that and shit. And also, our government is doing this, obviously, like, it's bullshit. To hear this conspiracy theory nonsense giving legitimacy is honestly bullshit, in my opinion. You still there, Wolf?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, but he's been giving false analogies in this entire interview, so let's just finish it up.
So I wanted to ask is like, since they claim this, like, do you like, I guess as far as one of the truth claims, like, do you believe there's some sort of secret government plot to keep you in jail?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't prove that. Certainly by what happened, it sure appeared that way. For instance, I was scheduled to come home. I was actually sent to Montgomery from New Hampshire. It would be a lot closer to home. I was there for 4 days, and they snatched me out and put me in county jail. Never told me why. To this day, they've never told me why. Then they moved me to Atlanta Holding Center, the armpit of the BOP, and brought a new charge against me for mail fraud, for mailing a letter to the courthouse. No, to the county courthouse saying, hey, there's litigation still pending on this property. You might want to let the buyer beware there's litigation pending. So they brought a new charge, kept me in county jail for almost a year over that new charge, which was really stupid. And then they dropped the charge the morning of trial. It was 2 months ago, or 3 months ago.
Were you authorized to be sending letters at the time? Because, in jail you can't communicate.
No problem at all. No crime at all. I'm obligated to. If there's litigation pending that might influence the ownership of a piece of property, I have an obligation to tell a potential buyer, hey, look, you might want to look into this, because if I win this lawsuit, you're going to lose your money. If you were going to buy a car that had been involved in some kind of incident where the car might get seized, wouldn't you want to know, hey, I really shouldn't buy this car because the title isn't clear? That's
I suppose that, to a degree, might have been justified, but the fact that he was moving money around despite, even being in jail in the first place for doing that, that probably wouldn't have been wise.
So it is. It's just simply a litigation pending, lis pendens. It's a very common thing. There's nothing illegal about it at all. And that's all I did. I filed a lis pendens at the county courthouse like you're supposed to, and says, look, there's litigation pending on this property. The buyer should beware. And they said I have mail fraud because I mailed the letter, which I may have. I don't know if I did or not. I do mail a lot of letters. But that's not mail fraud. And they dropped the charge the morning of trial. Just they could keep me in jail. Keep me in jail for a year. So you tell me, is there a conspiracy? I don't know. Sure looks that way to a lot of folks.
Well, no, I was wondering if you're going to do the whole New World Order and Illuminati stuff,
Well, the Bible teaches clearly, like I said, I need to go. Let's make this the last one if we can. I'll do another program with you. The Bible teaches clearly that in the end of time, especially, the Antichrist, Satan in the flesh, is going to try to build a one-world government. So it's coming, and it's going to be based on finance. You won't be able to buy or sell with a mark. I don't know what that is. Mentioned in Revelation 13, I suspect. It's going to be all electronic transaction.
Hey, Sid, you defend him on this bullshit? Sid, you there?
What's that?
You defend him on this statement that there's going to be one world government according to Scripture?
No, I'm just going to defend him on this financial stuff. No, for the scripture aside, forget about the scripture. I obviously don't agree. I'm obviously not with him on that. But
not on the conspiracy theory, right?
Excuse me?
Not on the conspiracy
What?
theory.
You'll have to repeat that. Can you repeat your question?
Kent Hovind is batch insane old fucker who.
No, I know all about batshit Kent Hovind and his Christian nonsense. I do, honestly, I do. But I'm just, I'm just trying to see the logic behind seeing what he did as being inherently wrong or criminal. I don't see, if the crime was how he got, say, $100,000 or whatever he had in his account, how he got it in there, that's one thing. But moving it around 12 days apart at $9,000 is not a crime. It's just.
There's a link to help you out with that.
No. I don't need a link to make me figure out logic and not and
This isn't
see that there's a disconnect somewhere.
This isn't necessarily about logic so much as a guy broke the law. He tried to hide money,
Well,
and
if there's no logic for the law, then I don't support it.
All right. Let's keep on with the video.
And where you don't have probably a microchip maybe embedded, that seems to be the most logical, then you simply can't buy or sell. You're excluded from commerce, which is going to really put a wrinkle in everybody's lifestyle. So we'll see what but the Bible teaches there's going to be an attempt at a one world government, a new world order. And there have been a whole lot of politicians working for that and hoping for that for centuries. And I do have a feeling think we'll be pretty close. We'll see. I don't know how close. Okay?
Yeah. So I guess I only have 2 more questions left because I do realize we are at the end of our time. My second last question was, now I interviewed another person that seemed to suggest that your qualifications were a little bit iffy because he says, like, okay, is it true that you got your degree from a diploma mill?
I don't think so. I think I worked so hard for my degree. I think anybody who graduates with a degree and they end up believing they came from a rock, at the end of all that education, they think they came from a rock. I would question anything that person says.
Okay.
Well, that was about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Again, this guy's just full of it.
I'm amazed you could actually find a basis. But okay, his fucking just for laughs. Let's see where the fuck is it? I know it's somewhere. His dissertation from that bullshit university. Okay. Where's an excerpt from that? Okay, his doctoral dissertation. Okay. Aside from his known PhD being in the phone book of Pensacola, let's see. His doctoral dissertation, basically. Okay. Notable quotes from his thesis. As I was thinking on this subject, I wrote a poem to try to explain this, comparing blind men and atheists. 2 blind men argued well into the night about the good question, is there really sight? Said one to the other, and quite fervently, there cannot be colors, or else we could see. Step 48 lines, to deny his existence is really absurd. You have to believe in him and trust his word. What the fuck? Alright, okay. Satan, in the form of the serpent, brought the doctrine of evolution to the Garden of Eden.
Well, yeah, that's all stupid nonsense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Adam just passed on evolution to thousands of generations. Okay, the Bible has never been proven wrong yet, and I believe it will never be. Okay, for instance, communism is a direct offshoot of evolution. What?
Yeah, anything to do with the Bible, anything to do with any of that mumbo jumbo, you can just sort of just edit out. It's crap.
Hey, this is bullshit. Bring back a Mars rock or a Jupiter rock. I'll eat it or lick it.
If he really thinks...
No. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. This is too funny. Bring back a Mars rock or a Jupiter rock. I'll eat it or lick it. Life doesn't evolve.
I know.
What?
Exactly. It makes fucking no sense.
What the fuck? This is ridiculous.
That's why I wanted to. That's why I wanted to, you can only really have a decent discussion about this if you concentrate on the judicial side of it, of like what we were disagreeing on about the tax and the intent and this, that, and the other.
Okay, here's the beginning of it. Okay, hello, my name is Kent Hovind. I am a creation science evangelist. I live in Pensacola, Florida. I have been a high school teacher since 1976. I've been very active in the creation evolution controversy for quite some time. This has been compared to a freaking like a letter to Santa Claus. This dissertation. This was terrible. But let's keep going. And yeah, if you basically get your diploma in a matter of months, not years, in a trailer in the middle of nowhere, like a desert, that's a diploma, man.
That's what nearly all evolutionists do. So, no, as far as a non-accredited school, yes, but a diploma mill, even just a printing press, oh no, Patriot University has been around for years. It's a small Christian school. It was part of a large church.
Non-accredited, yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
Colorado.
It's not a school. It's a damn trailer.
Why would non-accredited mean make
well,
any
maybe
difference?
there's a.
Come on, man. Absolutely.
Well, who knows? Maybe like the person in that trailer was a very, very skilled professor who went off the grid and shit and taught Hovind the ways.
It was probably a very accomplished theologian. Even if that shit was like a friggin' church that did actually give out like religious degrees, who gives a fuck? Doesn't mean you can talk on science. Even if that guy was frickin' Paul himself that frickin' helped found this ridiculous religion, that doesn't mean shit about you being able to talk about science. You're talking out your ass.
Exactly.
Shit about philosophy or economics. How that has anything to do with science is beyond me. And somehow he correlates this.
Right.
He's full of shit. He's stupid.
I'm gonna go pretty soon, but
material. And so you can, if people don't like my degree, then ignore it. Call me Kent, call me Bubba, call me Hey You, and let's get back to the top.
Ooh, Bubba. You must be in jail at some point.
Yeah. He wants to be named after his sugar daddy from prison.
Yeah, kid. Bubba Bear's coming for your ass.
Oh, that's scary.
He used to date Bubba every time he was he was by the toilet. They would drink toilet wine together. You know?
Ooh, baby.
Oh, yeah. He used to clean Bubba's rims, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
No, don't make me go there.
Yeah.
Don't make my mind go there. Don't pollute it with that.
No, I want to go there.
Its mouth.
Anyway, I got to go in about 1 minute. So it was really nice. Thank you for the invitation.
Hey, it's almost done, So if you want.
Yeah, no, I'll hang out if it's almost done. That's good.
Yeah. It was just a joke, just poking fun at a dipshit,
As they start attacking the degree and the qualifications, that's clear evidence they're losing the argument on the facts. And so now they're looking for something else to save face. So I have 4 doctor's degrees, 3 earned, 1 honorary. And if people don't like it, then forget it. It doesn't matter. None of them from accredited schools. But it did leave me believing I was created and it didn't come from a rock. So I think I'm probably way ahead of the game than some of those guys who have some people would call it.
Seriously, if I ever have the chance to talk with this idiot, he's got to explain that rock thing. Does he fucking mean panspermia or what? Like, seriously. Like, he is vague as hell with these strawmen he comes up with.
Well, he seems to have a lot of time in his hands. Why don't you invite him into a hangout?
I'm not gonna. Maybe who knows? Who knows? I talked to Matt Slick. I mean, anything I guess would be possible, but I'm not gonna deal with. If it does happen, I'm not gonna kiss like the yes men that this guy surrounds himself with, the freaking hunchbacks who think this guy is some type of genius. So there's that. But okay.
No, obviously not.
Accredited degree, who still believe they came from a rock. Okay.
Okay. But I mean, you do realize that's not a certified thing, right? So that's why some people might not take you that seriously. And if you are trying to convince people and share the world and everything, which is good, but it's not going to get you very far. There's just certain things you need qualifications for.
Well, who decides what is certified? Who decides what is qualified? That was going to vary greatly from country to country and from time to time. George Washington's doctors were graduates of medical school who believed in the doctrine of humors and took out George Washington's blood to get him well from the flu, and he died. Certified doctors. Okay, so I don't think the word certified or qualified. Qualified by who? For what?
Well, that's
again, it's a non-issue. If they don't like my degree, then forget it. I think the facts that I present are pretty clear. Mickey Mouse could be presenting the same facts. They want to not argue with the facts because they can't. So they attack the degree instead. It's called an ad hominem argument, and it's inappropriate in every case, which is including this case. So again, forget the degree. I don't care. I could be a kindergarten dropout. Thomas Edison didn't have a whole lot of education. Was he certified or qualified to do anything?
So, tax fraud bullshit teacher of private school thinks he's Thomas Edison. He's all these people.
I bet you when he dies and he has an autopsy, they'll find that he's made of straw.
Seriously, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did an autopsy on him and just found bull excrement. Because that's all this guy spews out. Like seriously, like you hear the narcissistic, senile, erroneous, deplorable, shit-eating ineptitude that is this guy, and it's.
So you don't like him, right?
Yeah, typically, I mean, it's not that I don't like him. It's just that, disingenuous pieces of shit, really don't reign true with me, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you'd invite him for like a drink or some shit, but I don't even know if he drinks. But
I don't, so I probably wouldn't.
Honestly, I think guys like this, just need a good old kick in the ass to wake them up to reality. Like they really do. Because they're so far gone.
I really think that guy needs to check into a home.
Yeah, he needs to be in a mental hospital or something like that, a mental ward. I wouldn't say he's a danger to himself or others, but
he's just.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say like maybe take him into an old folks home.
Why is he a danger to anybody?
No. I'm saying maybe it's like take him to an old folks home, find someone he could be with or some shit if his wife hasn't left yet. But
all he needs is a camera and
sorry about that.
A monitor, and he needs to talk into the camera so he can see himself. And not be connected to the internet. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
Talk to the camera, and as long as nobody can connect to watch or listen to you, that's the best thing that can happen.
But it's funny to listen to this motherfucker lose his mind and
agreed.
Sink into. Well, I don't want to be mean like that. It's funny to hear him say all this stupid shit. I do pity him and G-Man and Mac. I pity them.
I pity what this guy did to his own son. He made him sound like a...
What did he do? I don't know the background of that. What happened?
He indoctrinated Eric Hovind, and now he sounds like a retard.
What?
Like he's the guy that basically asks how you know stuff.
What's the guy? Oh, this is Kent Hovind.
Yeah, no. This is like the son of Kent Hovind.
Who? The guy that's being interviewed?
No. The priest guy.
Okay, I don't know who that guy is. I just know this guy who's being interviewed.
Have you heard of Ray Comfort?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, you should know about Eric Hovind at least.
Eric Hovind, I know the name, but Kent Hovind is the guy I know. Eric Hovind, because the Hovind part of it. But,
okay,
no,
Eric Hovind is this. Okay, he is the son of this guy Kent Hovind. He debated Thunderfoot at the Reason Rally and strawmanned him constantly. That you never saw that?
Nope.
Well, you can look it up. It's he basically asks these philosophical questions like, is it impossible for God to exist? And and how do you know? And how do you know this and that? Like, how do you know reality is real and all this shit? And it goes down this rabbit hole.
Okay, well, I really got to go now, and thanks again. I will talk to you guys later.
All right. All right, we're almost done.
Well, by your logic, no.
It doesn't matter. Look what he produced. It doesn't matter. He was right. He did all kinds of great things. So Winston Churchill didn't have a lot of education, but he did a great job at a tough time in world history. Okay, I'm over time, and it had to be the last question. We got to hurry.
All right. Last question is, okay, what would be your final advice on life to everyone that's watching this interview? Because we've got quite a lot of viewers tonight, and I thank you for that.
Well, yeah, I'll be glad to come back on. Final advice is you need to just look in the mirror and say, I'm going to be dead for a long time. Am I believing what I believe because it's convenient, or because it's really true?
You're gonna be dead forever. It's a stupid thing to say. I'm gonna be dead for a long time. It's like you're not gonna be conscious of death. It's stupid. The friggin' as soon as your electrical impulses in your brain stop, as long like when the synapses stop firing, that's the end of you. As far as like your physical existence goes. Understand the notion of a soul is like it's there's no evidence for any of that. It's faith based.
Well, that's just a bunch of man knowledge there, Wolf. You're just like listening to men, and men are unwise. They have no reason to live. They, especially atheists. I mean, atheists are just the worst brand of.
Yeah. Like these neurologists and psychologists and stuff like this, and their studies and their facts and evidence, and their actual empirical investigations, they peering into like the brain and understand like that neural network that sustains our consciousness. We should ignore this and just accept the Bible at face value.
Yep.
Apparently. Let's keep going with this bullshit notion.
True. What if I'm right? What if the Bible is right? What if God created the world and God made a list of rules? And what if God's going to be the judge one day? Then what?
Okay. I would say this. I'd say that let's just say that Kent. Well, first of all, let's point out what Kent is doing. The obvious bullshit Pascal's wager thing that he did. But let's just go on a limb here and say that what he's saying is true for the sake of argument. There would be two serious implications. Let's just go with the first one. This God would have to be so lazy, it would have to be so friggin' aloof. It wouldn't really care how the universe worked if it left us, to survive, via the biological traits that we possessed through natural selection and random mutation. It wouldn't care about if we lived or died, or how many people actually believed or not, because it knows everything, it can do everything, and capable of all, but it doesn't care enough to make its existence apparent to all people. We're surrounded by divergent religious beliefs and stuff like this, yet somehow we're supposed to know this at face value, when the fact of the matter is there's more reasonable evidence to say that this universe is all we could actually understand and know about. I would say that this God is a lazy motherfucker who doesn't care enough about what it set into motion to give it its divine plan. But given the fact that that's like a statement that violates Occam's razor, I'm going to go with the easier explanation the simpler one, in that this universe is all we can actually understand. You know, let's focus on the facts of the real world through the scientific method, you know, facts and reason and all that good stuff. But I am fucking tired of listening to this guy. So with that, I'm going to end this hangout. I'd like to thank Greg, Sydney, Green Soul Sufi, even though he didn't really say anything, Joe, and you, Chris, for you know, participating in this. All right, guys, it's been Wolf King. Peace out. If you like this video, you know what to do. Also, subscribe to my boy Keefees the Elite Hunter. He's awesome. And with that, I will see you later. Ciao.